Here we go. All right, here we go. Like go. Got to do some recording. I'm gonna figure out that. Can I find record? Being more. It's weird how you get it. Do shit. Gonna have to record this. There's no doubt about that, and I will figure that out. So we're live on YouTube, everyone. I think we're on YouTube right now. Welcome to West Church Season 11, Episode 11. That's pretty incredible. We're in Barcelona, Spain. I am just going to be doing a little bit figuring how I can record this show on this computer because it's not offering me the ability to record. So I'm going to have to do some the thing I love to do much when I'm in hash is I fit. Let's hope we get some people coming here. It is only people in Spain probably don't even know the actual time. Welcome everybody. Wow, can everybody? I want to make sure here. Let if and sort of the bad connection, the not great camera. I'm on my laptop that's about 8 years old at this point in time, so this is about as good as it gets for today. It's just not really that good. Maybe I can open the light a little bit more, and we can get a little bit more light on ourselves, which might give a little bit better call. Dum dum dum. You cannot minimize Zoom workplace when you are recording. Okay, well that makes sense. So we won't do that. Let's hope we get some people in here today. Have not been well organized, I will. Um, not quite as well organized as I usually anyway with Hash Church. It's a little bit chaotic. It's a little bit insane, and I'm on a super piece of shit. We're gonna Spannabis had incredible. Really, really fun. I'm good. My we're at This is old. These are from like 2024, so I'm gonna have to wait for it to open up. But you know what? I don't really need for it to open up at all because what I really want to do is I want to shout out my sponsors, Puffco, because they're fucking awesome people, and I've been having a great time with them here. Yeah, let's go full screen. That's exactly what I wanted to do. How did you know that? All right, here we go. So shout out to the good folks. This is not read into these people are fucking awesome. I had an amazing time at Jar with Jolly Roger. We puffed about 30 to 40 jars of material, beautiful rosins, full melts, dry sipped, pure heads, microscopic photos. We did the whole 9 yards. And we did it all through the Puffco, through the Puffco Pro, Peak Pro as Pivot, which have just been godsends. They're the only thing I've puffed out of here since I've been in Barcelona. And they've just been a savior. I've got all sorts of wonderful jars we're going to go through today and talk about different seeds and companies and people that I've bumped into. But I really, really, really want to give a special shout out to Chelsea and to Jolly Roger at Puffco for just taking such good care of me, for being amazing sponsors, for aligning themselves with our group here on Hash Church and really just offering to support us in any way, shape that they can. And if you haven't seen any of the Jolly Roger content, check out him on his Instagram at Jolly Rogers Puffco, as well as at Puffco. And you can check out their YouTube channel as well, which is at Jolly Roger ampersand on YouTube. And he should have the whole jar check that we did. So without further ado, welcome, Colin.
What's good, brother?
You
Yeah,
legending,
baby.
you legending over
I'm just
there,
supporting the cause.
dude. I don't think I've seen that one.
So this is the third edition. It's the one we ended up placing in. And I like this
Yeah,
one. This one's cool, you know? I dig this. I like
it's beautiful. It's
it's nice and clean, you know? Like the other ones were I used to wear a lot of tie-dye, and then I went through like 20 years of not wearing any tie-dye. And then it started coming back in
Yeah,
some of
I
these
feel you.
events on some of the shirts. I started wearing it. It was nice to get the clean one because I do appreciate how clean this is. On
Oh
tie-dye is
yeah, of
amazing.
course.
I mean,
So clean.
incredible, but it is nice to have the ability to buy that, support, the event, support what you've been doing, for so many years, putting that on. So, it's always nice.
Fuck yeah, dude. Well, we appreciate your support, brother, in a big way. And shout out to Mark, the curator, who just popped into the room.
Hey guys,
How you doing, brother?
good. I'm doing really good. It's funny. It's serendipitous because I happen to have like the Legends topper on right now. I don't know
Nice.
if you can see it.
Oh, whoa.
Yeah.
No.
That's hilarious.
Yeah.
The Legends of Hash Topper.
You
Yeah.
know,
He's got
I
it.
Yeah.
uh
Well,
I
I'm just charging this bad boy.
I got one of those Focus V's, and for whatever reason my white one just like splintered. It's like completely splintered from ISO, and
Yeah.
it won't even put the topper
Oh,
on
yeah, yeah, yeah,
anymore.
yeah, yeah. Well, I got to give it out to Puffco in that sense that the R&D this group does, they do the R&D on all the little things that we don't think about as customers until we get the product and then we learn about these pain points. They spend an enormous amount of money on R&D figuring it all out. And it's funny because I had a lot of people be like, "Oh, but I usually kill them." It's like, right, with improper use. And they were telling me how people puff on these things so hard that the oil goes into the fucking 3D XL bowl and then it eventually seeps right into the electronic components and battery. And when they get these back, they'll cut them open with like a water jet and open it up and just be like, "Dude, they're full of hash oil." And then you've got people that are just like, "Oh man, that fucking thing doesn't work anymore." It's like, right, like, did you read the instructions on how to use it, or did you just use it how you wanted to use it? Because the other thing is, the 3D XL bowl is one thing. You can put in big dabs, but the smaller bowl, we used to put these big dabs and we'd suck it. We'd create a vapor lock in there. It would like shoo, like go right up into the holes, which is, you take a couple dabs that you suck right into your atomizer and you're pretty much going to have a problem somewhat sooner than later. So, yeah, I have never traveled without a rig. This is my first trip ever traveling with just the Puffco. I got the pivot and the peak. And, one of the things I like about this one is I can charge it from my phone. When this
That,
dies, I can just go USB-C to USB-C. I don't need a power bank. My phone acts as the battery in it, and it charges it in about 9 minutes, which I thought was pretty cool. Hey, we're in Barcelona. We're
Was
gonna have a
absolutely
little
was.
of well, let's get in with you know what I'm saying here? A little fresh made water. How do they make the water here in Spain? I don't know, but this is freshly made. This is freshly made water, and I'm gonna drink it out of a cognac glass.
I
Oh,
like that.
it's got a glass on glass tip too. I forgot to
Oh,
take
you
that
fooled
off.
us.
At
Yeah,
first,
I
I thought you
fooled
were
you. I
pulling a
was like,
magic trick on me, man.
yeah, it was a magic trick, dude.
That's a
It's
magic
like
trick.
popping.
It's funny. The last Legends that was held, I was packing up my stuff the night before I flew out, and I had my Scotty Depp, my mothership. I had my Ryan Fit. I had all these things. I was like, what am I gonna bring? And I just gotten the 3D atomizer in the mail. Like literally, it just came that day. Like, and I was like looking, and I was like, oh, I haven't opened this thing up. Let me just take a dab real quick. And the moment I took a dab with that thing, I just looked at it, looked at all the stuff, and I was like, I'm bringing this.
That's
Seriously,
what's
because it
up,
was
bro.
like all in one little
That's
compact,
awesome.
It's a
piece.
convenience you can't match. It's so crazy
Yeah,
how much
man. I
easier it's gotten
mean,
to smoke hash. It makes it like I don't really even smoke combustible flower very often at all right now because it's just too easy to smoke hash and hash tastes so good and it's just
yeah.
so much better.
It was just, no shit on. I love
This is
glass. I love glass
73 micron,
art. 73 icon
73
water.
micron water. This is especially 73 micron water. This is the water that this is the only water I make my water hash with while I'm in Spain. Freshly made water. I've never
I
seen
want to
such a
learn
funny.
how to
I
make.
looked at it the other day. I was like, this is our freshly made water because just a few seconds ago has gone through a high purity filtration process. What? Because just a few seconds ago, it has been transported or stored avoiding loss of quality on the way, and the glass bottle reduces waste accumulation in nature. That's why it is such a fresh and healthy water, and even healthier for the environment. Well, I'm not into plastic bottles, I'll tell you that much.
Definitely not.
Oh my goodness. So everyone's doing good today, I hope.
Yeah, it's killing, man. Just doing great. Had a good morning over here on the East Coast. Getting ready for another busy week in New York and just doing a thing, having a good weekend, But Spain looked really good. It looks like everybody's having symbiotic genetics. Nice. It's the new packaging.
Yeah. Yeah, little yellow burst and some Spanish honey, basically his two washers. That was kind of the ones to grab from him. I saw my good friend Javier from Medical Seeds, and I grabbed some of his banana Skittles. Got 3 packs of 3 of those, and then grabbed a pack of his grape gas, which he calls grape fuel. And then we grabbed a bunch of DNA, and we got a bunch of oh geez, who else did we get? We got a bunch of Zura Farms, the boys from RKM and Zura Farms, Hispanic guys that I've been friends with for a long time. There's been wonderful people. I bumped into Pioneer Farms the other day. This guy has some really, really nice sour diesel. This is like OG, like original sour diesel. It's really fucking nice. And then if that wasn't funny enough, he gave me this. And 2 minutes later, Don from DNA walked over. He's like, bro, I never give you jars. He's like, you want some old school fucking sour diesel? But it was a totally different grow, a totally different guy. So I have these. In fact, this jar I put under Scott Deppy's nose when I bumped into him a couple days ago over at the Puffco booth. And he cracked it open and went, oh, wow. Oh wow. It has the oh wow factor. Both of these sour diesels are spectacular. I also bumped into the homie Minor Melts. This dude is really doing a great job out of California. This is the Cowboy Perfume. And man, was it just unique and different and really just sort of special. We had like so many jars here. We had Jungle Boys, Full Melt P, Tella, sorts of different things, but nothing held quite like that Miner's Melt. The second nicest thing that I have is the Raindrops, and this is from my friend in Argentina. And what he did was he made some bubble hash and he whipped it like rosin. So it's full melt bubble hash. It has not been pressed into rosin. Spectacular flavor profile and just yummy, yummy goodness. What's going on, Etienne? Are you over at the spot?
I am over at La Cama Gracia. Can you hear me?
I can hear you really well, dude. This is where we were going to do hash church today, and I was so worried about like the noise or the smoke or the whatever. I wouldn't. So I figured our apartment. Etienne can go to the beautiful venue that Edu offered to. I got to give Edu Blue Ice a shout out. I saw him earlier today at the Grassroots tent, and he said you got to come to. Please name the shop, Etienne. La Gardier.
La Creme Gracia.
Okay, wonderful. Well, see ya,
Stefan.
and look at that.
Yeah, Stefan
What's that?
and Stefan runs the shop. I'm here with one of the artists. Mossy Giant is his name, and he has done this entire place. And if I can kind of switch my camera around for a second, it is
Yeah, take us for a little
completely.
walk. It's fucking beautiful, dude. Go get in there. That is insane.
Wow.
His nice Mila art. And so, yeah,
Really
this is the
beautiful.
man right here who does all the art.
Great job. Tell us what inspired you to do this art. How did you come about? Like, what
What
were you eating a
inspired you
bunch
to
of
do this
acid?
art?
We can't hear him. Sometimes only one of the AirPods has a microphone. Still can't hear him. How about you, Etienne? Say something. I think we lost it when he said something there. Everybody's muted, but I'm still here.
Everybody's muted. Can you hear me now?
I hear you perfect.
Yes, perfect. Well, thanks for having me on, guys. Amazing.
Yeah.
So I'm the artist. I'm Peter, also known as Mossy Giant. I'm an artist based out of the Netherlands, and over the past 3 years, I've been working really closely with La Creme Gracia, this club here in Barcelona, to put together this project called the Grand History of Cannabis. Uh, Focusing on different cultures around the globe that have a special relationship with this plant. And through my art, we visualize this history and make it very accessible for the consumer, the patient, the and cannabis enthusiast, and hopefully also people outside of cannabis to start learning about this plant and this wonderful history and its role as a plant ally to us. So, and me and Etienne talked about extensively last night. The reason that the art is a good vehicle for this is because it creates a low barrier for people to get stuck into something that might otherwise be hard to talk about. You know.
Very cool. I wish I could see the art up a little closer. Maybe later you will get maybe someone will go on a phone, come into Hash and we could do some nice close-ups of the art. We also have the curator, Mark Archer, who's in the house. He's an artist as well. But what he does is he works with rosin and hashish. And so, yeah, you guys are both doing the good work, getting it exposed out there. And just turning people on to a wonderful thing. We're just at the end of Spannabis. Today was the last day of Spannabis. I want to say hello to Craig from Alpenglow Farms, who also just popped in from California on what I'm guessing is a beautiful sunny morning. Am I right?
No, no, no. We have an
Raining?
atmospheric river hitting. It's
Oh, well, that's why Whistler got so much snow. Are you guys getting dumped on?
yeah, at about 2,000, 2,500 feet on up. The Sierra Nevadas have gotten like 2, 3 feet. The Wasatch Mountains have gotten 2 or 3 feet. Like it's on.
Yes. Yes, brother.
Yeah. I would be
And
more
the
fired up if I didn't have double inguinal hernia surgery like a month ago.
yeah,
So
how are you doing, man?
I'm not even smoking. I'm on tinctures right now because coughing would be brutal. You don't
Dude,
realize
are you
how much you
kidding
use
me?
your
Do it
gut.
for Hash Church. Take a big rip and cough for us on Hash Church. I'm totally
I'll be
joking.
crying. I'll be crying for
You'll
sure.
you'll pass out unconscious. Oh, there he goes. I guess Craig passed out from the pain. Well, you know what? I'm glad you got tinctures, and I'm sure your wife's taking really good care of you, and you guys are doing good things over there. So I always happy to hear what's going on in the Alpenglow world.
Yeah, yeah, we've got a lot going on. It's a crazy environment here in California, as many of you know. And Humboldt County is coming down to the
Ooh.
final wire with some old taxes that people owe, and ooh, we might lose some legacy cultivators
No,
over the next 2, 3 weeks.
no, they're doing that, eh?
Yeah, yeah. It's just that it's been a challenging market for a lot. The folks that try to stay like kind of in the old bulk market way of just being the farmer and not really pushing their own brand forward have had a really challenging time. So
I bet.
we're trying to hold the door open as long as we can and really use our voices to help support the ones that are challenged. So we'll see what happens
Yeah.
on March 25th here, and April will
Well,
be a
she
new
takes
day.
us on a journey. She takes us on a journey, and although prohibition made us very, very protective of her and him, the plants. It's I saw a lot of it as sort of corporate cannabis came in, and I saw a lot of people being like, "Oh, corporate cannabis, it's destroying all the small farms, and this is that." And I was kind of like, you probably forgot when, like in Vancouver, when Hillary Black started the BC Compassion Club, which was just the most amazing thing ever to have the Compassion Club to serve, the most vulnerable people on the planet, basically terminally ill, mentally ill, homeless, and drug addicted. That's a vulnerable group, and so the whole plan was to just sell to those people and kind of make it happen to those people. And what happened inevitably is the Compassion Club grew in popularity and ended up having 3,000 patients, and it was selling all this a massive amount of cannabis and hash. It was just doing this amazing service. But what people don't talk about where because it was easier to, I think, bash on like the corporate entities, like, oh, they're destroying cannabis. The Compassion Club put so many mom and pop growers out of business in Vancouver overnight because they couldn't sell their product anymore. They'd be lucky if they could sell it to the club. If you were able to sell it to the club, you could sell it, but the club basically took 3,000 people. And if you think of the mom and pop growers, that's really what it crushed in Vancouver. There were so many mom and pop growers, mom and pop dealers, just like a quarter here and eight there. I'm not talking about big dealers. I'm talking about real small dealers. And they all just got like wiped out with when the club came into existence. And I think that, as sad as it is, it's also a very natural component of life to have the beginning, the middle, and the end. And for some people, they are at the end of it right now, and it's a real bummer. But at the same time, I kind of, I have a tear in my eye for them, but I also have a glimmer of hope in this eye over here. And so it's a simultaneous sort of thing. It's tough. It's hard. I feel bad for these groups. They've been doing it for so long. Um, but another thing too is that it's not the same anymore. And doing it back in the day, a lot of us are like, we did it for the plant, and I took the risk of going to jail. And it's like, right, but you also made all that prohibition money, right? So there was a lot of prohibition money that was made, and the reason we made money and the reason it was so easy was because cannabis was illegal and it was easy to make money. I mean, fuck, I knew people that just thought they were the cows meow. They thought they were the shit in the world of cannabis, and then they tried to do legal cannabis and they found out. It's like it's not hard to sell something illegal that's prohibited that you can go to jail for. You can make money selling stuff like that. Doing it legally is like a whole. I mean, we're good at hash making, we're good at breeding, we're good at the business aspect, the what Etienne does, the growing aspect, what you do, all of these different things. But what we're not good at is business. The majority of us weren't business people, we were just kind of like people that were like passionate and had this sort of energy. And so now you have this sort of, to me, the real symbiotic relationships are between the people who are good at business, that are connected with the people who are good at the growing and the cannabis aspect, and they put those together in a real beautiful way where one doesn't require the other one to affect the integrity of its existence, for the other side, which often happens on the Chaz side, with the money, right? The money often wants the passion grower side to bend the knee, if you will. Bend the knee, Ned, or we will take your head. It's like they're taking our heads, Craig. They're taking our heads.
Yeah,
And
but to that point, Marcus, it's like it's been a challenge across the board, and it seems like Sungrown is really catching catching like some traction.
fuck
And the
yeah.
one thing that all of us little sun-grown homestead farmers have is like our land. We didn't have to go buy anything. Like we came into this having what we have,
Yeah.
and the big corporate investment is kind of like pulling out. They're going, ooh, we're not really seeing any returns. Where, we just keep trugging along. And, as you know, we've gone through like the days of the helicopters and then 215 and the green rush and all that, and we're still here, right? And I feel really good
Dude,
about the
you're
future.
not.
I feel sad for the ones that haven't made it through to this point in time when we're maybe gonna start seeing a light at the end of the tunnel.
Yeah, no, I feel you. I also feel bad for that, but it's just how it is, right? It's like that damn Mr. Beast game. It starts by the end of it, there's like 10 people, $10 million. Oh, I'm gonna put up a bowl of this DNA and John the other day. So anyone else want to like? So
I'm actually today, I'm smoking some blue Zushi, and it was actually the dad man I posted this morning. I made like a dad man eating a gummy and like getting really fat, and now I'm smoking him.
I'm gonna join you in some sour. I'm smoking not the sour diesel, but the original diesel. The original diesel comes before the sour. It's the cut that I think Fletcher's used it a bunch. It's the known as the Shroomy 420 cut that I passed to Shroomy on the forums.
oh yeah, Shroomy.
When I was
Yeah,
still
yeah,
living in
back in the day.
Pennsylvania back in the old when I was at Pennsylvania and Vermont when I was spending time between those two places.
Oh, he's got the dog. That is awesome. I wish I was there. It looks quiet. It looks like an amazing place to do hash church. Unfortunately, I
Oh
just
yeah.
couldn't take the chance. I ran out of time, you know. I had to get to the apartment and be like, fuck, I didn't even eat today. I just came. Well, I'm gonna puff some bowls. That'll make me feel better.
What time is it, Marcus, over there? I can't remember the time difference is 6 hours. What is it?
Yeah, it's like, well, for you, it's about 5 or 6. It's 5:24 right now.
I have some work my friends did, speaking of sour, and they are producing for the Banjo brand that is just barely launching here in California, but this was grown out in the Klamath Mountains here in far northeastern Humboldt above the Klamath River. So we got some local sour as well. I love
Beautiful,
sour.
Cali grown resin, baby.
Yeah.
Oh, it's funk. It's so good. Just delicious. So many great jars. So I did jar check with Jolly Roger the other day, and I was so impressed with this event. I kept telling him, I'm stealing this from you, dude. I'm stealing this. This is an event that I should have been doing for the last 10 to 15 years. Ah, Le Chanvrier. Ah, Le Chanvrier. I saw that jar the other day, Le Chanvrier. It was very good. I called it. Come on, you know I know the
You know
Chanvrier.
it. Wow, that's amazing. Wow.
Yeah, I'm the
Yeah. Are
bubble
we
man,
still?
in case you
Oh,
forgot that.
can you hear me?
Yes.
Listen,
Yes,
when I
yes.
saw you when I saw you up there, I was like, oh my God, I'm in the same conversation with as the bubble man. I My first videos that I saw of you were you visiting the operations of Matt Barron, the great gardener. There's
Oh yeah.
YouTube of many years ago, where you went out to his place, his facilities, and you guys were sifting for seeds. There you go. Oh wow. Yeah, yeah, yeah. There you go. When did you get that?
Well, I like to keep my finger on the pulse, my friend.
I see you are. You have your finger on the pulse. Amazing.
So listen,
Yeah.
it ties into exactly what I was saying. So I was at Eagle Clash the other day and I was with Jolly Roger. And they set up a beautiful table. They set up a macro microscopic thing that was right next to us. They had a big TV with a macro camera where they could put the jars on and blow it up bigger and take nice pictures. We saw about 40 jars over the course of maybe 4 hours. We were in a private little kind of church area of the space that Eagle Clash rents. Just myself and Jolly, and we were just people were just bringing us jars. There was like a lineup of like 20 people, and they just would come in and be like, oh, it's an honor, Jolly and Bubble Man, and here's my jar, and this is from Thailand, and this is from, you know, Argentina, and this is from Basque Country, and this is from California, and it was just this absolutely spectacular event where everyone just seemed so kind and wonderful, and it was this great exchange. And some people were like, oh, please take a dab, in which case we would fucking fire one up and take a dab, and other people we wouldn't touch it. We never asked. We just said, beautiful jar, you know, right back to you. But give them a little breakdown on like whether it had contamination on it, throw it under the microscope, really get in there and see what it looks like, talk about the flavor profiles. The nicest jar that anyone put under my nose was Third Eye Blind from Third Eye Organics, Third Eye Blind. That's like a band. Third Eye Organics from Los Angeles, and he had something I used to puff 20 years ago called the Sweet Skunk from Breeder Steve, and it was just a spectacular. This is a very rare narrow leaf drug cultivar that has it's terpenoline, but it's also osamine. And when terpenoline and osamine are together in a sort of 1-to-1 range, what happens is it sort of rounds out the taste of the sharpness and the acrid sort of pitchness of the haze. And so you don't get that. You get this more like it just rounds it out and makes it almost fruity, but not. Very hazy. It's an absolute beautiful flavor. This guy said he barely got any. Sells it for like $400 a quarter, $200 a gram for the live hash rosin, and he was kind enough to give me a dab. And man, I'm telling you, that dab was the best dab I've had. And that day alone, I probably had 20 different variations of Z Terp dabs. So there was a lot of Skittles and Z Boofs and every variation of Skittles you could possibly imagine, like the banana Skittles. Got those from Javier today. So lots of Z Terps. had a really interesting conversation about the Z terps with Jolly Roger, sensory science. Talking a little bit about Nick Ziegler has turned me on to over the years, but we were talking about, and this was sort of Jolly's thought after we got into it. He said, "What if Skittles?" Because we were talking about how, you know, a sommelier in the wine world can perceive things in the wines that the majority of the normal people in the world cannot. Not even the people that grew the grapes often, because a sommelier isn't just someone that practices and learns. They have an olfactory sensitivity that's through the roof. So it's not like something you can just practice to be like, oh, I'm going to be a sommelier. Yeah, you can kind of do it. But if you get to that level of like the world sommeliers, the classic, the top 25 guys and ladies, have something special going on in their nose that most people don't have. So you get this specialized group, which I suspect a lot of us in here that are growers and hash aficionados, and we love these aromatic volatile compounds. We have a complex olfactory, and we have the smell these profiles in a full experience. Jolly Roger was saying, what if some of these complex profiles aren't being perceived in whole by the masses? And what if Skittles is one that 95% of the population can just perceive as the full bouquet? So all of a sudden now they're a sommelier when they try Skittles. They get to go deep and taste the levels to it and taste that full profile. And it's always, oh, wow. Like, don't get me wrong, I love Skittles, but holy shit, is it tried to death. Like, if you just want to win any contest, all you have to do is grow some Z terps and you will win the contest. Now,
Every time.
I don't know. Everyone wants to grow, win contests so that they can sell seeds. But if the contest is about winning a contest and not actually about like maybe somewhat the economic viability of the cultivar in regards to how it washes or what it produces, the weight, the profiles, all of those things, it has to be able to fit into that. Because if people are going to taste this profile and then be like, oh, everyone's got to grow the Z, everyone's like, all these big companies, small companies, they're ordering these terps and then realizing maybe that's not as easy of a cultivar. Maybe that's not like a mainstream cultivar as much as it's designed perfectly to win contests.
I agree with that statement. And one thing that comes to mind is Huckleberry Farms to me and the Whitethorn Rose. That's also very complex and very deep, and perhaps on an olfactory level, one of the most complex that I've ever come across in my career. And you know, every time I've ever seen it in a contest, no matter what, it gets the best score from myself. And I do that because of how complex and how otherworldly in terms of what it does to your olfactory, and how, if you look at the spread of terpenes that are in that profile, it is actually an outlier. It really is. I would say Z was an outlier, but now it's becoming much like I think of our day, sour diesel was kind of an outlier, and then until it wasn't, you know. And
So
then
we grabbed that Whitethorn Rose yesterday. I saw Huckleberry,
isn't it
and we
amazing
grabbed
like how
we grabbed a
complex it
cross of
is?
it.
Yeah,
Yeah, we grabbed a cross of it.
crosses of it, I'd love to try. I've been a little nervous about getting them because you know, my heart wants that profile, and I know how long it'll take to search for that. You know, to like actually
Everyone
find
wants
it.
that.
Yeah. But I love the idea that it's in there somewhere, right? And but I guess the point of bringing that up is I think there's a lot of these other rare ones out there, and I think over my time, I'm sure your time, Craig and Marcus, and perhaps ATN, you've seen these outliers, but they don't get saved, they don't get put into production, and they rarely get the light of day that they deserve from a sommelier point of view, as you perfectly said, Marcus, because there is a big world of just compounds and volatile organic compounds that we're still learning about today. We're still learning about the vernacular of even how to describe them, talk about them, and then put them in the context of commercialization. That's a whole other bag of worms, right? But it's really, you know, from a genetic point of view, there's just such a huge world that because of the breeding techniques that were so narrow through decades of breeding, you know, we really did narrow that pipeline down. And I think it's now just starting to get a little bit more opened up. And I'm excited to see that happen. I know people are saying, oh, we're all narrowing things down. Well, Do you not remember that all of us had super limited spaces and that was truly narrowing the gene pool because we literally couldn't have more than a few males or a male to make, these outcrosses. So open pollination, as I think David and Skunkman said so well, these large open pollinations are starting to happen again with these some of these breeding, techniques that people are doing in larger scale because commercialization is allowed for that. But I think right now what we're really coming out of is really that narrowing. If you really put a really a fine lens on it, we just didn't have the space, and the space that we did have had to go to production, so I don't think the lens that like we're destroying a gene pool is correctly being put on where things are at in terms of genomic research and genetics right now. I think people are searching to open up the gene pool more. But again, every breeder's got a vision, and that vision is coming through those seed lines, like Bloom Seed Co's, Oni,
Oh
DNA.
yeah.
They all have their individual visions as to what they're contributing and why. But
It's
I think
true. I
it's
saw Edgar as well.
yeah, Ed, I was going to mention Edgar too. Like he is a totally, that's why I wanted him on the show because he's such the antithesis in a lot of
Yeah,
respect. He's like the backyard hash maker who's outside, right?
dude.
And I love that. Like I think there's something really beautiful in that pursuit to not be super techy, to just be making seed and kind of selecting what you got. But on the flip side, there's also something really amazing about being
Yeah.
forward. You know what I mean? So that perspective and dichotomy
Mhm.
and that inflection point, I think where we're at today is, I don't know, it's expanding. I don't think it's narrowing in a lot of respect from that perspective. So I'll leave it
Yeah,
there.
it's been great hanging out with all these guys for the last, 3, 4 days. I get to see them. I got to see my good friend Javier from Medical Seeds, who had some terrible, like I think it was a tumor that just like grew in his head and then started throwing his inner ear off, and he ended up like having to learn how to walk and eat and talk and like everything again. So he's been 4 years out of this. He's still walking with a cane. He's a little shaky, but he looked good, and he was doing well, and just a brilliant guy. Catalonian here in Spain, who's been spending a lot of time in Thailand, as well as South America, Brazil, and Uruguay, and Paraguay, and Chile. And so, yeah, for those of you who want to check out Medical Seeds, give him a shout out. He's another one of these guys like Bloom, like Exotic, like DNA, that just has, their perspective, their nose, right? You're looking at something that you like, and then you share it with the world. And if you do it the right way, I guess the world likes it and everyone wants to try it. And so it's a huge abundance of flavors at Spannabis. I will really miss Spannabis in Barcelona. I don't know what it's going to be like in Basque Country. I mean, Basque Country is epic and beautiful. I just can't picture 20,000 people, like 25,000 smokers going there, and like having the hotels for them, and smoking everywhere. And like, there's just not, it's not the same thing. I think they'd have to do it in another big city, but we'll see. We'll check it out. I'm sure we'll be there next year to see how it's going to be. But for now, it's a wrap. Spannabis 2025. That was my 20th and 21 years. I missed the COVID year, but a lot of Spannabises. Holy shit, a lot of Spannabises.
Yeah, I originally just kind of see what was happening.
Does he have does he have an earphone in, Etienne? Okay, so the
Yep.
one he has in has the microphone. So he has to put
Ah,
it in his
We
left
got to
ear.
get
He has to
closer.
put it in his left.
It's
Exactly.
in my left
I
ear.
didn't
You
know
can
that
hear me now.
about AirPods. I thought both of them had microphones, but until I did this trading a headphone thing on Hash Church, I was like, I think only one of these has a working microphone.
We're getting screwed over here. Yeah. For the
Yeah,
most
I
part,
have to get cozy. You guys have to cozy up.
You have to
you get
whisper
me,
it
right? Whisper in my ear. Yeah, sweet nothing, sweet nothings. Because Spannabis is in
Exactly.
its own set of growth over the past, since I came in 2010, and the quality as well as
the quantity is grown. Don't get me wrong. As much as there's great cannabis and seed makers, there's tons of pollen chuckers out here, as our friend Ryan would say. And yeah, it's also challenging to separate the wheat from the chaff as well. There's so many seed companies and people representing it's grown so large and so fast. Again, quantity, not necessarily quality. So you have to search for it. Of course, you know about it for sure, Bubble Man, because process demands that. But not everybody follows that. And it was unfortunately visible as well. So, it's the good, the bad, and the ugly, depending on how it goes. But, Bilbao is a big city. I'm Basque, so I'm always partial to the Basque. But yeah, they will just have to grow and get more hotels so they can, have all of us there. If not, Barcelona will have to do something and reclaim its footing.
Totally.
Yeah, I was going to loop back to what Colin was saying about Johnny's Whitethorn Rose. And one thing that has really brought some of these cultivars that we've had that we're revisiting is the resurgence of hash locally in rosin, right? Like Johnny will even say that Whitethorn Rose isn't necessarily something he's going to put in a jar. It just doesn't have the aesthetic. And I actually grew something from Johnny many, many years ago. We called it Fruit Loops back then. He still has it, and it kind of resurged this past harvest season for him. He's calling it a different name because obviously you can't use Fruit Loops. Um, but that one as well just grew these big Nerf footballs, but the terp profile was phenomenal. It was so good. So I keep nudging him like, "Hey Johnny, how many cuttings doing? You got that Fruit Loop still?" So we'll see what happens with that one.
I would have called it root floops.
Oh, you know what? I just messaged him. I was asking him what he calls it now, and it's Paradise Punch. So those of you looking for
Paradise
something
Punch.
new, anything you see with that Paradise Punch, it is phenomenal. Like bag of Fruit Loops, straight in a
Does he
bag.
sell seeds, Craig? It's one thing I'm unclear about. I was under the impression he just kind of works with people, but maybe you can drop the listeners, even myself, some knowledge here. Are there seeds available of any of the stuff he's been working?
Yeah, Tangled Roots. Go to Tangled Roots. That's the I guess the seed broker that he uses. But yeah, you're right. Locally, yeah, you gotta work with him directly, and he's really taking care of and doing collaborations with just some of the legacy operators here, and it's really nice. It's given a lot of farms a chance to enter the market and to have something that will get him some good traction. So it's really cool what he's doing to help cultivate the community. Really appreciate Johnny.
Yeah, the collaboration is really, I think, great, and it's something I think the community needs more of. Everyone doing everything at once is perhaps confusing, I think. But if a grower works with a great hash maker, I think that pairing together elevates each other as being, the concept of becoming the water. And I think that's a great pairing. I encourage others to kind of step into those roles together and really truly collaborate. Because we do see it does work, from
Totally,
you know.
totally. And one thing
You
we've
definitely hear a
seen.
lot about that Whitethorn Rose, even out here. It's on people's lips, man.
I live in Maine and I've heard about it a ton of times. I've seen it come up a lot and through my social media, but like, Twitter and Instagram and people raving about it. I haven't got to try it myself, but I would absolutely love to.
I
Yeah,
mean,
it's interesting. It also someone was telling me it was kind of a gate kept genetic that doesn't really get out. Which I'm always like, ooh, man, I'll tell you, if I can give anyone advice that has a genetic that they have that's super special. See, there's two things. It can be special because no one has it, but it can also be special, but no one has it. The ones that are really special that no one has, I urge those people to get that out to as many people as you can because it shouldn't be a risk to you or put you in a negative. But what'll happen is you don't have to have that's the special thing. Did it like 5 or 6 different people. I'd share it with. I did the same thing with the Congolese. It was like the only that had it, they loved it. There was a very small group of people that had the Congo, and people would pay so much money just to get it, and it was this whole vibe. And what I noticed was when I gave the Congo away, like 100 people, the people who truly loved it were like 3 of the 100 people that got it. Those 3 still grow the Congo. Everyone else is probably trying to get the white thorn rose now. Like it's, I haven't seen it. I haven't smoked it. I saw a lot of beautiful things out here, but I didn't see any of that. But my partners from Maryland, who I came out here to meet, my partners that I do the Bubble Man brand with in Maryland, they were raving about it. They said they had gotten some in Vegas at MJ BizCon, and that it was some of the nicest smoke they ever smoked. And they're definitely connoisseurs. Be tough. Yeah.
Part of that, I think, is
heritage.
part of what you're seeing from that is it's all coming from full season farms, right? It's none of it, to my knowledge, of the whitethorn rose rosin or hash that you might be seeing is light dep. So it's got that full season expression.
Very nice. Very nice. End of the season expression.
It makes sense.
That's awesome.
Actually, now that you say that, because it's very complex. It has this at the right temperature, man, it just throws all kinds of adjectives at yourself. It's really, like, I think, Marcus, every cutting that was truly amazing has been coveted that way until it's just all everywhere, right? Like you said. I remember getting cuts from AE77 from on the forum days, and he used to send me a letter with everything. It used to say, if you want to save a strain, give it away. And that always stuck with me. Because it's true. It's tough to play gatekeeper or God, whatever you want to call it. But I also understand why he wouldn't, that's something he worked on and he wants to keep in his collection. I have things like that I
That's
haven't.
it. If you've done some great work and created something special, keep it
Yeah. No, I understand both sides of it,
for
though. It's,
yourself.
to bring it up,
If you unless you learn how to really store your genetics in like liquid culture, liquid nitrogen tissue culture, if you're just keeping clones and you're not sharing it with anyone, and you don't have it, like it's just a scary thing to lose a genetics have just
I
gone the
would have lost
way.
my New York City garlic if I didn't give it to one of my.
Scarcity.
I totally agree with you.
Would you guys like to see some art here?
Sure.
Anyone that asks. Yes, absolutely. Please share your screen.
I never have shared my screen, so I'm going to try here. I think we should be good.
Yeah, I think it's so you can. So let you advanced sharing options. You can share. All participants can share. Perfect.
Perfect. And then zoom.
So yeah, you can go. He is screen tabs.
Let's see. I don't know. I might have to come out and come back in. No, I think I'm good now. Well,
do that. No, the curator has started sharing. You can see your screen. You can specific thing, and instead of sharing your entire screen, you can just choose that one specific thing, like a photo or whatever. But this
is this okay now, or do you want me to?
I see you like the Lightroom.
Oh, you can see
if you stop the screen share, but if you stop the screen share and then you go screen share again, and now that you've got that video open, just choose the video. Because then we don't need. Yes, there it is. Much better.
No. All right. So obviously, when we talked last time, we talked about doing a melt, and people have been asking me forever, and I figured I can't put it off any longer. And the best place to do it would be here. So I melted my Frank mask from Donnie Darko, and yeah, you'll be able to see here.
How much did that weigh?
So I didn't weigh it. I didn't weigh it, but I think it was somewhere like a gram, in the neighborhood of a gram.
Jesus. With the
Yeah,
shatter eyes, the hard.
Yeah, plus shatter eyes, and I ended up smoking like a little over half of it. You'll see in this video, but I was absolutely ripped, and I was gonna go back in. And I was like, I don't know. I'm like, I was so nervous doing this. I've never melted anything like this before, and I put so much effort into them that I was like trembling as I was going to film, essentially. But here we are.
I love it. Look at this. Oh shit. If there's music playing, it might make my YouTube video unshareable in the future. If
That you
you have
can
music
can
playing that,
you
I
mute
will
it?
go back.
To be honest, Marcus,
I
I couldn't
can
even hear
remove
what
it.
it was. I I can
No,
decide.
I couldn't either, but the insane, bro. All it has to do is pick up like 3 points,
Yeah.
like that, and it picks it up. But
Wow.
I can go. That melt video was beautiful, by the way. Like absolutely stunning, ridiculous, dude. I'm telling you, that's what you should do with all your art. Say,
I think
what's it?
moving forward,
What is it? The
now that
Mojaves?
uh, sorry, now that I've done it once, now I
Go
feel like I can do it all the time. I want to melt like everything. That once I started editing it, I
You
was like, oh
should.
my God, it's beautiful.
Hey, dude, what are you?
Yeah, it's crazy.
Oh, background. Is that what? How's there? Who's that?
Sorry if I'm.
Yeah,
Can you guys hear me?
we can. I'm
Sorry.
just asking who you are.
Oh, I'm sorry. Craig invited me. This is Johnny Casale from Huckleberry Hill Farms.
All that talk of Huckleberry, I had to
Oh,
invite him
dude,
in for a minute.
awesome.
Yo,
Oh,
look
good
at
one,
this.
Yes,
Craig.
That's
Good
awesome,
one.
sick.
Sorry
dude.
about that.
Yeah.
Dude,
I'm in Spain.
dude, that's okay. I barely. I'm also.
Great to have you
He
on, man.
needs AirPods.
Yeah.
Little AirPod in your ear. You're laughing. You'd be like hearing everything.
Dude, hash is
Is
crazy.
that La Sangrada de Familia? Yes, hash is crazy.
I mean, in
We love
Spain,
hash.
dude,
Huckleberry.
there's a big world out here. Like they are just craving those unique genetics that we're growing. It's taking, I think, some time to kind of get us organized, but it is on. Like every country around the world is coming for us. So it's a really positive vibe. At least gives me a little bit of hope for our industry and what we're kind of doing. But anyways, I hopefully I can answer a couple questions for you guys before I lose you.
Yeah, dude. Well, fuck. We were definitely talking about the whitethorn rose and the unique terps and some of the things you guys are doing. Yeah, it's awesome. You're not with Spain. Spain has been going off for the last 10 years. Incredible growers, incredible terroir, and amazing hash makers like at the top of the game. You give them access to great genetics and they can really shine.
Yeah, right. Morocco too, Ireland, Germany.
Yeah, a little bit,
They're all coming.
little bit different. A little bit different than selling seeds in the US when the Moroccans come up and say, we need 1.5 million. Can you do that?
There was some people from Humboldt, and I won't name any names, in 2 days sold $250,000 worth of seeds. That's how bad they want our
Oh,
genetics.
yeah.
So
Oh,
it's
I'm telling
on.
you. No,
That's awesome,
no,
man.
no. They buy millions of seeds over the
It's
course of like
crazy.
it's
Yeah, it's insane.
insane, dude.
Yeah.
For a season.
Really it's the whitethorn rose that's kind of enabled our farm to continue forward. And
starting to release some of those genetics with some hybrids that I'm doing. Craig's been patiently awaiting a strain I used to grow with my mom, over 45 years ago. A strain that we called Fruit Loops back then. But it's the strain that really is my mom's legacy, and a strain that I bred every different cultivar that I release on my farm and I grow on my farm. So in her honor, I just wanted to make that her legacy. And they turned out amazing, and they're amazing washers. Some of them aren't so great for flower, but in like jars, they have amazing flavor. But the industry's still maturing in that respect, as far as it has to look like that shiny little green apple or whatever. But they're coming around, and really, in my opinion, Whitethorn Rose has done a lot more than for the industry than just what it's offered in rosin and hash. It's really, I feel like that it's not that green shiny apple or that red shiny apple. It's this kind of fluffy bud that always has a little stem that people really want, that I can put in a flower form in my jar. And so it's kind of trying to break that stigma that, wow, oh, that one looks like that, and it tastes this amazing, and it makes me feel this amazing. Maybe let's try some other farms genetics that maybe aren't that shiny red apple too. So I think it's doing its work on its own, and I feel pretty grateful to have it as a part of our farm, and gives me a platform to tell a story of the small farmer in the Emerald Triangle.
Well, I can tell you, someone for myself. I come from the East Coast, my man, and I got introduced by it from Heritage. Kyle had given me a sample of it, and he said, "Yo, you got to try this, man. I know you've grown a lot throughout your career and doing what you do, but try this." And it reminded me of all these amazing things that I have grown, but not together, in one varietal. And it was really unique and really amongst the Z's and all the things that were coming up at the time. My palate, it spoke to me in a way that was much more complex than the Z terps that I, respectfully have tried, even the outcrosses. And those are great profiles, but respectfully, you've done something really unique, and it's really special. And I really respect that a lot. I really thank you for contributing that, and keeping that work alive. That's one thing really what I hear from you is that you're honing in on things that are not only a part of your legacy, but part of your own palette. And getting that out to the world is it's hard to stay excited, right? And I think, getting it out to the world keeps us excited because others get excited. And much like music or art, I think, what you're kind of contributing is really, really awesome. I mean, I think it's something that we in cannabis don't see a lot of. We see a lot of now I'm working with this clone because it's the most popular thing, and I got to make a million outcrosses of this because that's, what we do as a seed company or a brand, right? So
Yeah, and some of those
really
farms
good
that
work,
are
man.
chasing those hype strains, I
Yeah.
think really, in my opinion, are destined to fail because they always have to produce more than big ag. It's a race to the bottom. But like Craig has Coyote Blue, he has all these unique genetics that he's creating, and it's really hard to stay the course and say, look, this represents me. This is who I am. I know
Yeah.
that this is amazing, something different that doesn't fit that, what you're maybe looking for, but I'm telling you, and trust me that this is amazing and this is special. And once they build that trust, then it doesn't matter what you put in your jar at that point, right? They
Yep.
they they built that trust, and it's
Totally.
unique and it's different and it's cool. And what makes me feel good might not make you feel good. So it's really up to them eventually to discover if it's something from Alpenglow or it's some certain terpene or cannabinoid that's affecting them differently that makes them feel amazing. So yeah, Whitethorn Rose is kind of giving me that platform, and we're following up with a bunch of hybrids, and thanks to the Emerald Cup and Bell from Heritage, kind of gave me something that maybe otherwise I would have, probably kicked to the wayside. And so it's
Yeah.
really about the farmers, the friends, the manufacturers that really participated together to actually bring it to the forefront and give me a platform. So I don't ever want to abuse that voice and or mistreat Whitethorn Rose for what it's given to me. So really in a conundrum right now, and would love people's feedback, is like lots of pressure to release feminized seeds of the white thorn rose to the world. And yeah, it would be great, since that's the strain to that's enabled our farm to move forward, that's given us all this attention, and I can hoard it to myself and always be able to sell it or whatever that looks like, if it's just about money. But to release it to the world, according to like Nat from Humboldt Seed Company says, dude, I released the blueberry muffin to the world and I held on to it for a long time, but the attention and the excitement that that generated with so many people just sold every other strain we had. It was just like, and it was amazing feedback. So I'm kind of,
So
going
here,
back and
check this
forth.
out.
What's the right
Here's
move?
a here's another encouragement from you. You look at it like this, if musicians didn't ever share their tab music or their music with others, they would never excite other musicians to be aspiring to do the things that they did. And you can never take away, and we'll just use the Dead as an example. You never take away what Darkstar is when the Dead plays it or has played it historically. There can be a million cover bands, Darkstar Orchestra, everybody can all play it. It'll never ever be the same. But it's the catalyst that you brought to that moment in time to release that, for them to take on that inspiration and try to recreate what you've created. And that's an honor, like you should, I encourage to and take that in as more fuel to keep doing more,
Yeah.
and
And I've also been told, which is encouraging to release it, is that, all the regenerative farmers always talk about terroir.
yeah.
And, maybe white thorn rose grows just exceptionally well in my certain area. So there'll never be another white thorn rose like the one that's being produced at Huckleberry Hill Farm. And Craig knows that as
Oh,
well as anybody, that his farm is unique and special for its terroir and the way he does something, whether or not even knows he's doing something or not. We do things just because we've been doing them for the last 40 years. And we might not even know that's what's affecting the flavor, the taste, or whatever.
exactly.
So I guess I need a little bit more confidence in just going forward with going, okay, let's go.
Well, well, dude, I'm stoked to have the Paradise Pine in my hand right now. I just
Oh,
found out
dude.
Paradise Punch. It's the new Paradise Punch crossed with the White Thorn Rose right here. Thank you.
Yep, that's the original Fruit Loops that I call Paradise Punch now. Because I just did get
Yes.
a fifth and deceased from Wrigley's, because I had a strain Whitethorn Rose
Oh,
crossed with Skittles, so had to deal with that a little bit. But I felt pretty
fuck.
honored that, oh yeah, Wrigley's giving me a little attention here, slap me on the wrist.
Yeah,
But
yeah, that's not
um,
bad.
yeah, so
So where
Very
anyways,
can
I'm
we
gonna
get your
kind.
let you guys.
seeds?
Yeah.
Can you tell
Hey,
the
one last
viewers
thing.
once again, like where can we get your seeds? I never knew we could get your outcrosses. I always assumed that this was a relationship thing, which I love just the same. I think it's amazing. But those out there that are interested in your gear, what can you give us where?
I've been working with a company called tangledrootstore.com, and we've released quite a few genetics, some hybrids crossed with whitethorn rose. Paradise Pine is definitely one that's been around for about a year now and has really captured a lot of people's attention, and they're entering into contests now. We are releasing three new strains, Whitethorn Rose, across all these, Margie's Magic, to Riddles, which is a Skittles Whitethorn Rose cross, and to Paradise Pine. Don't know what they're going to be. Don't know if they're great. Don't know if they're garbage. But I got a hunch that those individual strains are unique and special in their own way. I think the hybrid's going to be unique and special. So I love it when people pheno hunt with me. Like, I want this to be a consumer, home grower venture with the grower. And I love it when people share pictures of the strains that they got from me. So it's never about the money. I know it's not that way for Craig at Alpenglow or myself. And it's something bigger. I might not even be able to put it into words what it is, but when you've been doing something for the last 40 or 50 years and you're still doing it and you still find passion in doing it, it has so much meaning. And I always get kind of choked up and don't even know why. It means so much to so many small farmers, and we're all in a pretty tough spot now. And I just hope and I encourage every small farmer to dig deep in their seed selections or their thing and grow what they want to grow and not grow these hype strains.
Totally.
Coyotes lose something special, and I'm sure all these other farmers have some unique, cool stuff. So, anyways, I'll let you guys go. I appreciate you having me on, and yeah, keep on.
Dude, absolutely.
Pleasure to meet you. Thanks for, yeah, Riddles is
Absolutely.
also
I want to
amazing.
link up with you. I want to link up with you. I'm here tonight, and maybe I'll get Craig to pass me my phone number. I sent it to him in the chat room, and give me a call in a couple hours when church is done. I definitely want to link up.
Sweet, right on, you guys. Have a good one.
Thanks, dude. That was awesome, Craig.
Yeah, so I would never share unless I felt it was appropriate, Marcus. I wanted to.
Oh
I was
no,
like, oh,
Etienne does it all the time, and it's always appropriate. It's all.
okay.
I love getting a little private message. Oh, I'm gonna send so and so in, because I was just like, who the fuck is this guy? Like, I didn't recognize
I
him at all. So
emailed
I'm
you,
down
and
to
I
family. Yeah,
I
I
didn't even think
figured.
about the chat.
Oh, email that emails.
I think seeing him talk
Uh,
about this is going to be cool for a
uh,
lot of people. I think a lot of
that,
people are
that
curious
was all.
about this screen.
Yeah, like I said, it's a really it raised my eyebrows up immediately. The moment I took my first dab, I looked, well, yeah. I just started laughing. I was like, this is what it's about, man. This whole thing, the whole experience of that exhale was the you have cultivars that touch you like that through your career or life. And I think there's something to be said for what he's doing. He's taking his mother's legacy that
Yeah,
is
it's
really
cool.
personal. It's just amazing. I mean, it's really, it adds a lot of color to it that I could feel through the profile, but now it confirms a lot. It's really cool
Well, it's
that
a small world to
yeah.
have that in my hand as Craig was, because I knew my buddies had bought it. I saw it on the table, but I was like, "Go get that." Was that the Paradise? Oh shit! It is the Paradise Punch. Boom! The world is a trip, man. My life is a trip. I'm gonna smoke some of this Argentinian full melt bubble. I also have some 6 Star dry sift, all whipped into a rosin-like consistency from Wolverine Dabs. Uh, Quite a few people donated dry sift to bring to Amsterdam in a couple days for Skunkman Sam's celebration of life that we're going to do there. And that's just nice, to have some of what he smoked a lot of, which is full melt dry sift and bubble. What do I do? Oh, there we go.
Yeah,
There we
John, you guys
go.
should know that Johnny's farm he's literally on the same house and farm, homestead that he grew up in, that he talks about his mom. And he got a legal license to grow on it. And it's 5,000 square feet. It's tiny. So that's what he talks
Wow.
about, like making every moment, like, and every inch of that work for him. And he's found a really good niche with it, and it's not on the south side of the mountain either. It's a little bit northy, down low, gets some morning fog, right? So all those things we talk about what it takes to grow really good resin, it's not necessarily the south facing ridge top getting, full dial of sun or that type of situation. Sometimes it's these, you know, unique terroir effects in environmental effects, whether it's a little bit more shade or cooler or cold temps at night or in the morning. You can taste the place, so to speak.
Yeah, no, it's interesting.
Absolutely.
I think the East Coast has its unique piece of that too, because it's a lot cooler for full term. And I think, yeah, like you said, elevation really matters, especially out west, because it's such a drastic change in elevation in terms of temperature swing. And yeah, those mornings I think add that extra vigor in terms of, the plant's, ability to be a little bit more hardy. And as such, the resin I think is definitely follows suit. I think even we learned that even carrying that into indoors, like the ends of the tables would have better resin, right? Because there was less light, right? So it's interesting. All these years we used to think like big full sun was really necessary for, you know, getting the best out of a crop. But as we get older, it's really interesting. controlling, where you plant, what varietals you plant where, I think is another aspect of it. And I know that you do that, Craig, on your farm. Is there anything that you can share that you kind of, when you look at a season, you're like, hey, this spot's going to be this spot's going to be that. What's the kind of methodology that you kind of think about when you do that?
Yeah, most definitely. We're just 10,000 square feet and we're operating on our legacy homestead that was old logging land. So our house is built, in some of these clearings in the forest on a mountainside. And I know one thing I learned early on was where we put our light depth greenhouse. And it's just, 1,200 square feet, a little hoop house that's open to the air. But we face uh southeast. So we get that first morning light. So for that, we have those up against the tree lines because we allow the morning sun to open the greenhouse with its light, but then we close it at 6 p.m., right? And that's when those shadows of the forest come across the greenhouse. So you don't have that heating it up and making it hotter or more humid inside. And then we can reopen it at 10 p.m. when it's dark out. And that way our light up is open to the stars and moon and night and cool night air. So that makes our little bit of light depth we do unique. And then yeah, what you're speaking to is like our sunniest spot is we're next to our solar panels, and that's where we're growing like sour D and clementine and some of these sativas and our guava gift. Our guava gift has become pretty special. It's a great dual purpose flower that is bringing out amazing resin. And we just had a flower test on it at 37% THC. And these lab numbers are like, they get weird to me. I don't quite always understand, it's all algorithm and
Oh, I think
calibration.
full sun, that's incredible. I mean, the fact that you guys are hitting those kinds of numbers, I think for listeners that don't know, I mean, I look at COAs all the time, all day. Like I study like, hey, what is this farm growing? I mean, it's very rare to see a full-term sun-grown flower hit that kind of number. And I think that shows the care that you guys take and the feeding schedules you guys have and the soil biome that you guys have and really speaks to what you do without even saying much, to be honest. So I think that's something to really highlight here is like, usually it's like mid 20s, maybe slightly higher, but that's really impressive, Craig, like for
What's
real.
that?
Yeah, thank the soil that we've grown. We really adopted a lot of these no-till practices where we worked with Josh and Kelly. They've been to our farm a few times, and Dr. Elaine Ingham, and really honed in some of these practices to do that. And what I'm most proud of is we grew the Oaksterdam OG from Purple City, and I really, that's in my mind, that's the Sohum OG we grew before it got to Oakland, right? Like I got it back and I was like, this is
Name,
what
you
I
mean?
built my house on. It's incredible. We pulled 4% terps on that.
Wow. Yeah,
So
that's also like those are the numbers 4% terps. I mean, with anything above 22% is going to be insane. You know what I mean? I would argue anything with 4% terps is going to be just perfect, regardless of the TAC or what the THC says. Um, that's really so when you guys are
It is
doing your
no.
soil, like how do you guys so you said you're no-till. What kind of cover crop are you guys using season to season?
yeah, it's actually growing right now. And we use, and I'll share where I get it from even, uh, the legume mix from LaBallisters in Santa Rosa. It's a bulk seed company. They have an organic mix. You get like 50 pounds for $40. Like
Wow.
it's the biggest bang for the buck. What I've learned is I don't want any grasses, no wheats, no rye. They're too friendly. They get too controlling in the garden, right? I want fava beans, bell beans, vetch, things that snap really easily. Because I think some of you might have seen on my Instagram, one of the ways we terminate that cover crop is I stomp it down with my skis. I crimp it, so I step it all sideways. Um, and depending on timing, we'll put a little
Hey, can we
compost
please say
over
how
it.
awesome that is that you do that? That's amazing, by the way. I've seen the photos or video of you doing that. and I fucking love it, dude. On his snow skis.
Yeah, I actually use a pair of Rosinal B4s that were garbage. I took them. They're literally like been skied four times, 4 runs in Alaska because I took them up there. They were supposed to be and they were terrible. They were like skiing on numb 2x4s. So they're perfect for stomping down cover crop. They have like zero flex and they're just planks. But yeah, so
How
depending
many
on
runs in the
timing,
greenhouse you get on the that's the question.
what's that?
How many runs have you gotten in on the greenhouse on them though? You only got
Oh,
3 on the hill.
yeah, like 6 years. 6 years. They're working great.
That's
But
awesome.
yeah, that's the biggest thing is, the organic material and growing those cover crops. It's incredible. We've been at the no-till living soil thing for like 8 years now, and it's exponential. There's a couple years when I had some health issues and I really had to rely on the systems, that were in place, nature. And she pulled through for us. It's like you don't have to work as hard now. It's really, really nice.
That was my timer.
So, oh, your timer. Okay. Bad.
Does anyone know if Wade's going to join us this morning? I'm hoping he does.
I was hoping he would. I thought he would.
I else think, and he comes in when he can. Has a lot to him, and in time with him. That is, for, I don't know. Do of the hash church today. I don't know if we'll pull up, see who else pops in and comes in for shares. If I was organized and had a beam, I could have organized a really good hash church event here. It would involve a lot of, different computers and people and help that I just can't do on my own. I mean, I could have invited Ramo and 50 different awesome people could have been on hash church right now, but it's also the middle, like it's 5 o'clock or 6 o'clock on the last day of Spannabis. So this is like from now till like 1 or 2 a.m. That'll be when the majority of people are seeing each other. Definitely going to be when Huckleberry Farms got their. Thank you for that, Craig. That is awesome connection. I love connections. I'm here actually, like I said, this apartment that I'm staying in right now is an apartment we rented for me to meet with my Maryland partners who are growing in Maryland. Craig, they're also looking to get a greenhouse and start. They're conscious enough. They want to do living soil. They want to do. Maryland's very difficult. It's not easy, but I told them, look, I have the right people. We'll be able to get some consulting from the right folks. We'll be able to get the right, pointed in the right direction. We don't have to go fucking state of the art, multi-gazillion dollar greenhouses. It's just completely unnecessary. We can go beautiful sun grown resin in Maryland and just produce some great products under the Bubble Man brand. So I'm pretty excited about that. And
No,
sure
have you
we'll
guys
be
come
giving that
across have you guys come across Purple City out there from Oakland?
Yeah.
We work closely with Purple City and they really put out consistent fire for a hash. When they say something's vetted, I feel really solid about them. They're like the one of the only nurseries I turn to. I turn to them and I turn to Hayes Valley for some of the legacy lines they have. They really have a beautiful Santa Cruz Blue Dream, and I'm also been running their Mule Fuel, but between Hayes Valley and Purple City, it's like that's really they're doing a good work and making it taking the guesswork out of it. I run my own lines and I try to work with like folks like Johnny, but then we also want some staples that we can count on and Purple City's done a really good job for us.
Yeah, out
I like
east.
the name. I remember. Oh, sorry, Colin. Go ahead.
Yeah, I was just gonna say the out east we don't have like Hayes Valley. It's just not as mature out here. I'm actually supplying clones to a few farms myself, and we're testing and keeping everything clean, doing all the things that needs to be done to provide a clone that could go into production and not have any issues. But it's really hard to find clones for people. I think that's one of the hardest things to find clean clones at scale. It's really tough. So I know Purple City have worked with people like Mendocino Grasslands, and even Hayes Valley, I think, works with Mendocino Grasslands as well. So I think you're right. Is there anyone else in the state doing good work in your eyes, or is it really those two?
You know, it's those two. We have a really nice local folks here in Humboldt Source,
Yeah.
but they're more so getting lines from Purple City like a year after they release. You know, Purple City's been amazing to us. They give us like a little head start. Like when they say they're going to release something at Emerald Cup, we probably have it already. Just that little bit of kickstart, which is really nice. They did that with us with the Mad Fruits, and I'm actually going to be jumping on a call with uh, Aram on Monday night, and we're going to figure out what he can pull out of their vault for us that they're going to be releasing going into this next year. But you know that's a game changer for us, and for me and Melanie, you know, we're mom and pop farms, so we'll do a big drop from them. Like we get them to the farm on the longest day, we get them like July 4th or 5th. And then we just set them and forget them. We do no light dep with them, plant them, you know, 3 feet on center in a 5 foot wide row. And it really works. You can see on our Instagram, there's some pictures in there standing with Mila when she visited. And it's a row of Moroccan peaches and a row of papaya balm. And it's just the right height and width and just it all works out really well for us to get cuttings at that time and do them that way, straight into the ground. We actually have now we
Guess
have
what, Craig?
an auger that goes on a drill, a 5 inch auger, so I can bump up into a 6 inch pot, get a really nice root mass, and then I can auger deep into the native and pull it up. And instead of shoveling or digging where you're compacting and cutting, it brings those beautiful tailings of native soil. So I can set, let's say, 100 holes in less than an hour with this, you know, it's a whole hog essentially drill with an auger on it. It's beautiful.
That is awesome. I am officially coming to your farm, dude. I'm telling you, maybe August or September waiver, and I'm gonna come down to California and meet you, man.
That's
Telling you,
great.
I'll bring my do some cover crops. I know that you guys are doing great fucking down there. Well, like that terroir, you know, that California, just beautiful sun and earth and everything is just like in this unique combination where you are that you just get these expressions that, well, everyone, all terroir is that very thing. But like you said, like Johnny was saying earlier, like, you know, him, he's like, I don't know, maybe my farm's just expressing this or Craig's farm's just expressing this in the perfect way. Beautiful thing. And I think that's from the genetic standpoint. What a cool thing to send your genetics around the world and see how it expresses in different. Just so cool.
Yeah, we don't even know. Like Johnny's like, I don't even know, you know, we've been doing the same work. I've been at it for 30 some years and it's like I don't know what I'm doing, but I'm producing.
Good on you. Keep doing what you're doing it.
That's Myrtle.
Jar check. Oh, Myrtle. Is Myrtle on Hash
Whoop.
Church?
Yeah,
Oh, no, I
Myrtle
thought you
is
said that's
here.
Myrtle.
Yes,
I thought I heard you say that.
yes. Myrtle is not only
Yes, there's Myrtle on Hash Church. I like this, but it died. It stopped working. It's not working, that one. It's not working. No, his voice is gone. We can't hear you. Here, let me change it. We
can you
no
hear us now?
sound.
There you go.
Yes. Yes.
Say hello, Myrtle.
You guys enjoying La Crème Glacée? Is that the ice cream parlor? Is that what that basically place is called? Oh, I can't hear her now. Unfortunately, you gave
Oh,
everyone again, Etienne. I can hear you.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yeah.
Welcome to Hash Church, Myrtle.
Thank you.
Myrtle was just in Austria with Etienne. I guess they were. She's cannabis all around the world.
So, talk about the cannabis thing.
Light a bowl.
Go ahead.
Oh, no.
We can't hear her now. Now we can only hear you, Etienne.
What?
I'd say if you want her to talk, give her both headphones.
Okay, I have them both now.
Perfume.
Now we can
cowboy
hear you
perfume.
clear.
Oh, okay,
Yep.
great.
Yep.
So, we're here in Barcelona at our favorite cannabis club called La Crema Gracia. So I'll just ask Kenzie, what does La Crema Gracia mean? What does La Crema Gracia mean?
The cream of.
Mhm. Yeah. Okay, so it's the cream of the neighborhood because the neighborhood is called Gracia. Yeah.
Oh, cool. That's a good name. That's a good. I'm about to light up some minor mounts. I don't know if. I guess I got to put it on. Some minor mount hooked me up with the jar earlier at the Eco Clash a few days ago. I'm almost done it. It's pretty much the end, but I'm gonna have a nice dab. It's called the Cowboy's Perfume, and it's quite a lovely combination of aromatic volatiles. I like different. It's definitely nice. Man, I've been putting the dabs through this Puffco. I think I'm about 250 to 300 dabs into this unit.
Does it count the dabs for you?
It
Absolutely.
does actually. In the app, it counts them. I'm actually sending my base back because it just won't hold a charge anymore. Marcus, I think the same, I clean it religiously. I mean, the thing is, as clean
You
as
have to. Cleaning it is an
it just
important
stopped
factor
working.
because oil gets into it.
Yeah, it has to stay plugged in to keep working.
Okay. Yeah,
So.
I've had that happen to my iPhone before, where I think that's a thing where it's like the connection is loose, like it doesn't connect proper inside. I don't know. I'm
I
sure
don't
they'll
know.
fix it
They're
for you
being
though.
super great. They're gonna replace it. Send me a new one.
I get a rip, guys.
Thanks for coming out, Mark. Appreciate you.
for-
Thanks for melting Donnie
Thanks for
Darko with
showing
us.
us that. Look
Yeah,
great.
no, I thought I wanted to show you guys before anybody else, and I appreciate you having me on. I'd be happy to be on whatever to talk about hash or anything to do with the plant. I'm always happy to be around.
We're just going to require first right of refusal for all your melt shots from the rest of your life from now till passing.
We'll talk after this. Send me a DM. We can get right into the legal. But I'll be happy to show you guys stuff first all the time. I'll come on anytime I can and show you guys cool stuff.
The legal will be a high five.
That's actually how I function. That's how all of my contracts have been signed.
Well, that's how I do it too. So there it is.
I love it. I'll catch up with you guys maybe next week or sometime soon.
Yeah, man. Thanks for coming out. Enjoy Maine.
I appreciate it. It's beautiful. It's getting nice. Spring is sprung. It's springing.
Well, I'll tell you, what is it? March? What's the date today? The 15th, 16th?
Oh, 16th. I don't know until I check my phone.
It's the 16th.
The 16th. So my birthday is in 15 days. I'll be 52 years old, March 31st.
Wow.
Oh, wow.
So that should be fun.
My birthday is in 8 days time. I'm on the 27th of March.
Oh, we're close. A couple of Aries.
A couple of Aries, yes. We like to take charge and boss everybody around.
Yes, we like to steer the pot. It's a little bit of that.
I'm April 17th, so I'm on the tail end of Aries. So 3 out of 5 of us are Aries.
Yeah.
Okay. Wow. Wow. Yeah. My daughter's April 13th. So she's also right in there. It's Good stuff. Good time. Everyone has to have a
Awesome.
birthday, so I guess a lot of us are going to be having them soon. Well, happy birthday to both of you.
Happy
Thank
birthday,
you.
guys. And I'll
Bye-bye.
see you guys soon.
Awesome. Thanks for coming out, Mark.
Of course.
That was pretty cool when he melted that big fatty head today. I don't know if you guys were here and saw it, but he took that big Donnie Darko evil bunny that he made out of rosin. First of all, his rosin art is
Last,
absolutely off the chart. It's ridiculous. It's so beautiful. It is awesome. What are you doing over there, Etienne? You looking? You're trying to figure something out.
stop tapping it. You're triggering this.
Keeps on falling out of my ear.
Oh, okay. Well, we can hear you very clear. Oh, look, it fell out again. Oh my goodness, this technology, isn't it hard to deal with? This is what happens. The kids, they're great at this stuff. Us a little bit less so. Yeah, just gonna head to Amsterdam tomorrow with Ryan Lee with Chimera. And I'm gonna go see Diana and hang out in Skunkman Sam's apartment in Amsterdam and just plan his celebration of life. We raised a little bit of money there at the Spannabis, thanks to Doug from TH Seeds, who put a little book out for people to sign and a little donation bucket. And it's going to be fun. I got a bunch of static sift that was gifted to me from around the world. So we'll have static sift to hit, and I'm going to go make a bunch of static hit with Julien from TH Seeds. He's got a bunch of beautiful dry sift at his house in Amsterdam, and he's going to be there on Wednesday. So I'll be making some nice static sift, you know, the day before Sam's celebration of life. So the sift will be sifted right off my hand, and we'll be puffing it at his celebration of life, as I know he would want us to, because that would be the priority. Look, it doesn't matter who died. We got to have full melt dry sift while we're here. And so we're going to represent for him and, you know, see his family and see his friends. And it'd be good to see Soma and Jer from Dutch Horticulture, previously Gavita, and just all sorts of cool people. I know some cool old Dutch breeders are even going to come out of the woodwork. And I didn't get to go to the one in California myself. So I was pretty sad about that. I was also kind of in shock and mildly devastated as it was all playing out the way it played out. So it just kind of came and went. Even though I did stream the whole thing, I still didn't feel like I got to be there and be with my friends and be with, you know, Dave and his family, Dave's family. So I can do that in Amsterdam. And I think it's going to be a nice time. It's going to be great to see Soma, to just sit at Soma's and get as absolutely destroyed as humanly possible. As Soma and I like to do, we like to go to the brink, as we call it, on the brink, on the precipice of where high meets nightmare. Just that fine veil of a line where you're just like, ooh, I'll tell you, man, it's just right there, isn't it? I'm gonna
Sweaty
do that with
palms.
Soma. Yeah, sweaty palms, dude. Oh my God. Just like, you know, after so many years of knowing Soma, which honestly it has been like 25 to 30 years at this point in time, you know, the things that would give me anxiety about getting high, like, you know, back in the day, you'd go to Soma's, it was like you had like a 9 hour difference plus the 9 hour flight that you just did, you know, plus the 5 hours of pre and post and all the amount of time. And when you land in Amsterdam, you're just destroyed. And usually what people do mistakenly is they like don't eat food. They go right to buy weed, and then they smoke a bunch of weed with like low blood sugar, and then like pass out or feel like you're going to pass out or feel that kind of scary feeling. And when I first went to Soma's, I was like, oh my God, like I don't want to pass out or throw up or shit myself. Not that I'm like doing those things on the regular, but that's how high you can get after traveling that kind of distance and smoking concentrates with someone like Soma or Skunkman Sam. And nowadays, I'd be the most comfortable to shit myself and pass out at Soma's. I'd know that I'd wake up all taken care of. They'd have me all cleaned up. They'd be like, you're amongst your family here, brother. So certainly going to enjoy. I mean, I'm not going to get so lit that I lose my rental car, but I am definitely going to work on getting as lit as I possibly can. Did you get some new headphones there, Etienne?
How's that? Can you hear me okay?
I can hear you very okay.
Okay, I want to introduce you to Kenzie Ribole. He is one of our guys on the ground here at La Crema Gracia. He lives here in Barcelona, but he also heads a lot of what we do at the Cannabis Embassy. He was not on the ground with us in Vienna this year, but he is one of the policy geniuses who's been helping discuss as well as shape cannabis policy at the international level. So, Kenzie.
Wow.
Well, Kenzie,
You're here?
Hello.
you can't hear? Hello, hello.
Yes, I can hear.
Well, welcome, Kenzie. Thanks for the work. You're doing good work.
Oh, you're welcome. You too. Thanks for the great episode.
Okay, excellent.
Recording history.
So, what
and
brought
movement
you to
history.
this? What brought work? Yes, yes. What brought you to do this work?
I was brought in by older activists that have been here before, in particular Frenchman Farid Gewesh and US Army veteran Michael Kravitz, who's been in the UN advocating for cannabis freedom since 1998. I was saying there was like it took over. There had been like Rastafari, that been basically the only people advocating for cannabis liberation at the UN from the 60s to 1998. And in 1998, somehow they pass on this thing to Michael Kravitz, and he's been holding somehow holding the how do you say, holding the battle of symbolic advocacy for 10 years and finding new people to come in like me and others to create this movement, which results now in the Cannabis Embassy. Cannabis Embassy is just something that has been since 1998 in the making of, activists from around the world that just get together. And yeah, and this year it's a 100 year of the first treaty that controlled cannabis internationally. 1925 is the beginning of international cannabis prohibition, pushed not by the USA. At the time, the USA were not yet anti-weed. They were quite normal. Was Egypt and South Africa. So two African countries, the north and the south of the African continent. These two countries pushed for cannabis prohibition in 1925. Just after, they were supported by Italy, the Mussolini's fascist Italy. So now we are 100 years of this treaty, and we've seen it even in the US. The USA is a country that generally doesn't give much of a shit about the treaties and the UN, even more now with Trump. But still, we have seen how the single convention of narcotic drugs has been actually changing the way things are debated, because actually the federal government sort of has to abide by this fucking treaty because they pledged themselves to do that. I think it's their treaty somehow. So it's sort of the fucking treaty is important, whether we want it or not. We have to deal with this treaty, with this United Nations. The question of drugs, it's very central matter. The 100 years of prohibition comes from the fact that we've not been enough active in this model of prohibition that the United Nations. And now we're talking 100 years of prohibition. We really need to.
You can probably tell them that we call the United Nations model.
Yeah, the model. Yeah, the United Nations, the drugs, the United Nations. They have the headquarters in New York, but they have also another headquarters in Vienna, in Austria, and it's huge, ugly building. And it's where you have the drugs commission, the drugs anti-drug agency, everything. And we really call it a model of prohibition because it's a fucking model of prohibition, visually and spiritually. And it's the same building. You have the agencies of the UN. You have it's just drugs, crime, nuclear agency, nuclear test, only hardcore stuff. I don't know, nuclear and crime. And you don't have human rights and stuff like that. Just hardcore cops, cops stuff, of cops. The UN in Vienna.
Well, it's awesome work, man.
So,
It's important what you guys are doing for sure, getting the word out, pushing forward, and kind of explaining to people that don't know much about it why it is important to get these treaties signed and get the fucking world governments off the back of cannabis for good.
yeah. Well, it's actually this world government is the sum of all governments. They are all governments are super happy of the UN because they can always blame the UN, but the UN is really them. That like many governments make of the UN, but it's a club of fucking governments, and they are all friends together. We saw Iran and the USA vote together just last week. Iran, Russia, and the USA, and same things. It's a club of governments. So sort of. Yes, double face, double sticky, but it's really the center of the problem. Yeah, awareness of it is important, really. And this year, 2025, centenary of international cannabis prohibition. Every cannabis user in the planet should be aware. It's 100 years, and shouldn't continue on the path. And I want to mention something also because it's important. On this year of the centenary of cannabis prohibition, in the Philippines, we had during 5 years of our brothers and sisters, people who smoke weed, patients, growers, killed by the police without any fucking judicial trial or whatever, just shot by police. They put their body in the street with a sign, I'm a drug user, I'm a fucking junkie, whatever. If you use drugs, you will you will end up like me. And that was like mandated by the president of the Philippines, Rodrigo Duterte. Unbelievable. He said himself on TV, I will be worse than Hitler, I will make a genocide of drug users, like really thing. And last week, he got arrested by the fucking International Criminal Court. And now he's in The Hague and he's going to be on trial. So that's huge. He's going to be on trial for genocide of drug users. So, we can also get something good from the UN if we know how to steer it. And that's thanks to people.
David Board.
For instance, David Boren, the US activist. Very little people know about him. But the guy has been tirelessly fighting to get Duterte, this Philippine president, behind bars, to activate the UN protocol to get him extradited in the Hague in trial for crime against humanity, and managed to do it. So, activism like that really pays. And now we have a fucking huge symbol on the centenary of prohibition. We got one of the worst prohibitions, in trial behind bars. So, yeah.
That's unbelievable. I had no idea that happened recently. I knew all about that psychopath and what he was saying about drug users and how he was comparing himself, saying he'd be worse than Hitler. I was just like, whoa, this guy is a psychopath. And so good for him. He deserves to be arrested by the world, and hopefully he, and somewhere that's not good.
How can we follow?
Mike K.
How can we follow or be aware of what's happening with your organization?
Cannabis Embassy. You can look up for Cannabis Embassy. Different social.
Michael just came in. Yeah, he's at Vienna.
Michael, I was talking about Michael Kravitz earlier. The beginner of all that in 1998. And yes, the Cannabis Embassy, we are still in the process of formalizing it, because the Cannabis Embassy has been an informal group of activists from a lot of countries, from South Africa to Spain, to the US, to Mexico.
We had 13 different countries at the UN
this year. And we are still in the process of formalizing it. So we have social media, for instance, we have Instagram, but we haven't yet like 1,000 followers. So please follow us on Instagram and on social media, because it's
He was trying to help.
And hi guys from Vienna. They are still in Vienna. Yes, I'm sorry. Also,
yeah,
still in Vienna, next door to the border of prohibition.
Welcome, Mike.
Yes, thanks everybody. Yeah, we're on a little bit of quieter tone here in Vienna after the meetings and what y'all are experiencing in Barcelona, I suppose. But yeah, it's good to see everyone.
Yeah, welcome to Mojave as well, who just popped in almost simultaneously as you did. You at Mojave in the
Oh, I know if I
in the
lost you. My reception's kind of bad. I'm
Hey,
here.
brother.
No, I hear you
We
now.
can hear
I
you.
I hear you.
Hi guys. How's it going? I've been
Yeah.
listening to the show, enjoying. I heard Hayes Valley mentioned earlier. I was like, yeah, there we go. Talking
Yeah,
about the real
dude. Hayes
stuff.
Valley.
That's it. Hayes Valley.
Yeah.
How's Barcelona? I have to
Was
say,
that happened? Barcelona's great. It's beautiful. I mean, it's up weather-wise, it's been raining a lot, like for most of the days, but I rented a motorcycle and brought rain gear and have just been driving my motorcycle all over Barcelona, and it's been absolutely like the best part of this trip. I mean, I've loved seeing people and seeing new flavors and jar checking and just everyone's so passionate and it's so exponentially growing that it's nice to see. It's also sad because it's the last Spannabis in Barcelona, and it's a big city, and it can contain us easier than I think it will in the north, in the Basque country of Spain. But we'll see. We'll have to see how it goes. This is going to be the end of an era for certain. It's amazing that you can like be driving my bike and just look into a cab and see people from the cannabis industry. Like there's just thousands of them in Barcelona right now. So you see them everywhere. You're just bumping into people all over the place. And people just seem super stoked and excited and they want to share what they've done, whether it's seeds or flowers or hash. And they're just there's a really big passion. I mean, Johnny came in earlier from Huckleberry Farms. He was talking about the white thorn rose and some of his crosses. Craig brought him in there, but he was oh, what was I gonna, why did I bring him up? He had said something that was pertinent to my story in this moment. But alas, I'm super cooked. Let's talk
Yeah, the
about something else.
seed sellers were selling lots from California because they wanted the flavors, right? Is that what you're
Oh
thinking?
yeah, but that's not what it was. No, it was something
Yeah,
else, and I don't know what it
and
was, but
this
it'll
is
come
this
back.
is Johnny's first time over there. I've never been. And just having that awakening. It's like, the first time we went to Emerald Cup in like 2015, like, oh my God, other people smoke weed and other people want what we have. And just having that, like, this is happening all over the world. It's a global movement, and it's amazing.
Yeah.
It really inspired to come back and work even harder.
Have you and Mojave met in person before?
I don't think so.
I've not.
You don't know Craig from Alpenglow?
No, man, where's your farm?
Oh man,
Southern
I'm so
Humboldt.
happy to introduce you guys to be friends.
Yeah, Southern Humboldt. If you stand on the porch of the Benbow Inn, if you know where the Benbow Inn is, and stand on the porch and look south, the big mountain right there, we're on the ridgetop. We drive up through the golf course to get to it.
Fantastic, man.
Yeah, about 1,850 feet above the ocean, above sea level. So we get about 60 more days of sunlight than the valley. Like Johnny, I'll call Johnny actually, and I'll be like, "How's the weather down there, buddy?" And he'll like, "Ah, don't even ask. Got my beanie and my hoodie on."
Yeah, it's such a difference. I was born in Big Sur, and my
Awesome.
brothers live in Mendo and Santa Cruz and Sacramento and Berkeley all over. But Mendo and Humboldt, the whole everywhere coastal. It's like that coastal influence is so important, but not the coastal impact. So it's like, and it's just like you're just right there. And Big Sur, especially, I mean, you just get socked in. And there's just, it's like South Coast Big Sur below 1,200 foot elevation. It's pretty dark. The daily light integral in the summer can be pretty low, but then right, you just drive out of it and it's like, it's like going into a different country. That's so cool.
Yeah, definitely. We're 11 miles from the ocean as a crow flies, and we're actually on a ridge top between two rivers that come together right there behind the Benbow Inn. So if you look towards the west, you see nothing but fir trees and really steep mountains. And if you look towards the east, you start seeing oak and grasslands and cows grazing. It's really, so we get these two air exchanges every day, and it's really just a perfect, I call it soul center of sun grown, Southern Humboldt. It's just an amazing climate.
Great.
Yeah,
California's a
that is
special
great.
place.
Makes me want to be there. Makes me want to come there. I'm telling you, man. I have never been to California.
Well, I've never been to British Columbia, Marcus. So can we have
Make
a
sure that
timeshare?
we promise each other that we'll do that. Yeah, we'll do a timeshare.
Fantastic idea.
Exactly.
We're gonna come on a
What's up,
snowboarding and ski
Brian?
trip. Let's go to Whistler.
I see
Yeah, man.
Brian
Love
from
that
Best
shit.
Friend Farm in the house. Yeah, yeah.
Fuck.
Come to Whistler. Listen,
Hey,
obviously, come to Whistler. Important. Oh my God. How you doing, Brian?
I'll be right back, guys.
Doing pretty well. Nice to see you all.
Yeah.
How are you doing
brother.
over there?
Nice to see you too.
Yeah.
Doing
it
really
going?
good, man. Seeing all sorts of really, really nice jars, great flowers. Everyone's, I mean, the food is spectacular. Got a bunch of new people interested in possibly sponsored, so checking that out. So it was just partners from Maryland out here, and we're gonna go in a couple, and we'll do Dave Watson's celebration of life. So that's what's
Amazing.
going down.
Amazing.
Yeah, dude.
You in Barcelona right
I'm
now?
excited about the whole. I'm in Barcelona right now. It's funny because earlier I was like, I'll show them outside. Barcelona's so awesome. And I open the door and I just go to like gently stand out here. And
Okay.
yeah, there it is again. They're still there. They're chain smoking cigarettes on their deck. So the whole outside just smells like cigarettes. I'm just like, oh my God, there's like 1, 2, 3 dudes on this tiny little deck. That's funny. They've been probably smoking cigarettes for like the last hour and a half. That stinks. I'm gonna need a dab to remediate that tobacco out of my lungs here right now. So this might be a good time for everyone to load one up. If you got one, load it up. I think I'm gonna go with the Pure Farms sour diesel.
Very nice. Very nice.
It's a very nice.
I'll join you with this, the original diesel.
I'm a fan of the side wraps. I really like seeing all the artwork wrapping these now.
Yes. Yeah,
Yeah.
I agree. I'm also a fan of that. You're not really allowed to pull that off in Canada, but I do it in the US market with Bubble Man brand. And when I see that stuff, I'm like, that's what I'm talking about, man. Like that is just looks good.
Marcus, this is our branding for New York.
Oh wow. I'll have to I'll make it full screen because right now you're just like a tiny little like yeah, if you talk while you're showing it.
What
There
we
we
got.
are. Oh nice.
You
Very
can see
nice,
the
dude.
top. And then because the compliance, they told us we had to have these egregious symbols. We incorporated the symbols as the main design.
Nice. That's great.
They even got mad at us. And they said, I said, you said that it can't be no smaller than. You never said it no bigger than.
I love it.
So they got mad. But yeah, this is our jar for our flower, Sheerbanger 22. And the LA runs, and then we have lemon cherry sherbet, and it's all flower. So and then next comes some of the hash and rosin and vape stuff. But yeah, that's just super simple, and you know, that's it. Got an activation this Friday at Housing Works in the city. So those that are around, please stop by.
Looks great.
But yeah, man. Packaging's like for me is egregious because we have to get through all this regulation and communicate to people all at the same time. And you know, everyone's got an idea of what that looks like, and some people want holographic cartoons, some people want, you know, whatever to signify that stuff. And it's every market's so different. You know, in New York, we have to also use 25% PCR. So my jars are tree hugger jars from Germany, which are, I think, somewhere around 38% recycled glass or something like that. And then the tops are also ocean plastic. So, you know, it's really interesting. I hope, you know, from the packaging point of view, we can all kind of get a grasp on the impact that we actually make around us because it's quite
we should
large impact.
understand we should understand the impact we make with everything, because the bottom line is most of the stuff we think we're recycling is being done for our own virtue signaling. It's not actually being recycled. Like most people's garbage in North America gets shipped to like the Philippines and other countries where it's burned in incinerators. Yeah. Like 90% of recyclables, or even 95%. It's absolutely insane. The best bet is to try and stop using it completely.
Yeah.
And if you can remove yourself from, you know, that sort of way, the best you can anyway. But yeah, there's a lot of a guy in Canada did a little documentary where he kind of went and brokered and bought this huge amount. This was like a couple semi-trailer loads, big cubes of plastic and stuff that he was going to get recycled. And then he put GPSs in this garbage, and he ended up seeing that it went to the Philippines. He was like, what the fuck is my garbage doing in the Philippines? And he went to the Philippines, and he was pretty like, they kind of pushed their way into this facility, which was all like low key, no markings. You couldn't tell what it was. And it's like countries doing this shameful thing of sending their garbage and their recyclables that they have no real economic viability in a way to recycle it in reality. So they just burn it. And this is where his recyclables were. And he even opened it up and started going through it. It was all Canadian packaging. So he knew it was absolutely the garbage that came. And you can find this. I think CBC put it on for a while, but then it got bounced off that. And maybe he's on YouTube now. But I mean, we should just try to use less garbage and litter, you know, throw less things away. But the reality is, like, if you think you're recycling, unless you're reusing yourself personally, that qualifies. That's like awesome. You're doing something. But otherwise, if you're just putting a bunch of like plastic bottles in like one of them blue boxes there, and you're taking it out to the curb there in the morning, you're not actually doing anything at all.
Yeah, I'd say like sauna packaging, and I want to give a big shout out to Taproot Fields for being a good partner of ours and showing us sauna and, you know, working with us on what we do, which is, you know, try to put good product in the market. But it's been a journey, because like 25% PCR sounds good on paper, but it doesn't really make a big impact. You know what I mean? Like, as you just said, Marcus, like, and it costs us more, like so much more. Like, no one has these like big rolls of 25% PCR film to make your bags with, or, you know, or your, you know, jar tops or whatever it might be, you know, that you're trying to use for your post-consumer recyclable. But I think it's yeah, it's a good step. We got to figure that out, because it's one of the things that, you know, I've seen dispos like actually taking vapes back, and then when I ask them, like, so like, what are you doing with all these things? Like, how are you actually recycling it? You know,
we send them to the Philippines.
Yeah,
they lie.
They're like,
no, they actually lie.
Totally.
I mean, I know dispensary owners who have the container out there, and I'm like, dude, what do you do with that? He's like, we just take it out and throw it away. Makes everyone feel good. Right, literally right now, not even the recycle center. They just take it right outside and throw it away. And honestly, you know what else I found out at my kids' old school? The blue recycle bins all over the school. The staff actually just also threw that away. They didn't even,
because they didn't know.
It's gross, man. You know, the weird thing is that, like, in Big Sur, you know, they've got like the billionaire recycling thing where the billionaires pay to have the garbage sorted, right? Because they're billionaires, and it's so hard, you know. So it's like, but the reality is it's the sorting, and it starts at the household and then at the recycle facility, and that's why they just did all the Philippines, is the cost to actually pull all the things apart that are recyclable. It's impossible. But the billionaires pay for it. You know, they're like, oh yeah, we got a guy who sits there.
You throw some food in there too. That's key. Like, get some some hard honey or some like egg yolk that's like dried to the side of this bag or something. And it's like, they're just like, I'm sure for like a day they tried it, and then they were like, one guy probably looked at the other guy and said, look, man, if we just burn this shit, we could be the incinerator of the world. just burning the fucking plastic. It's like, oh my God.
Well, I've never seen it, but me and Rob have always talked about like doing this, and I know he's worked on it a bit, but I'm lazy with numbers. But the carbon footprint breakdown for cannabis of like an acre of weed that was grown in Mexico with manure, put on a sailboat, literally a sailboat to California, and then given to some family person who took it and sold it to their friends in plastic bags, and people smoked it in little rice paper things, right? And then take that same acre of weed grown in like a greenhouse, turned into fresh frozen, extracted, and then put into little portable fucking throwaway lithium batteries, vape pens, the same volume of weed. Like, what's the carbon footprint difference between those two models of when we just used to just kind of just use it, and now it's this big industry and all the jars and all the packaging and the distribution and everything. And it's like, I get it, we're industry and that's what industry does. But man, there's something about cannabis where we all fell into this, like, I want to be like everybody else and do it like everybody else. And that vape pen thing was so sexy and attractive. And watching it happen here in California in this little group of people and like knowing, I was just like, dude, this is, and the minute the first, because I remember seeing the first disposable, and I was just like, wait, what's that? And he's like, it's disposable. And I was like, oh my God, are you kidding me? You're going to throw that lithium battery in the trash can? He's like, yeah, but it's so easy. People grab them. They're $30. I'm like, this is it, dude. I was like, we're all guilty now. And then and for a minute it seemed ugly, but then the whole industry is like, hey, we're doing that too. It's part of the thing. It's just the way it is now.
Like the only thing people
Yes.
buy now, dude. Like they don't even want 510 threads. They're not willing to even go the extra minute to buy the thing that's on the shelf next to it. Like, they're just like, I just want it. I want to walk out and rip the package up like crazy, and maybe whether or not I throw that away is another question, from the consumer's point of view, and on with their day. It's
It's like a
really hard to
Starbucks
swallow.
cup,
It really is.
like Starbucks cups and lids, and it's the
All
same
of it.
model. It's like you've got these entry level consumers. The one thing that disposable might do, if you can get them from that disposable, like, hey, try this before you go buy a rig and all these other components, but know that this is like your entry level, right? Like when you come back, let's talk about getting you into, a Puffco and a different way of consuming where you're not throwing it away every single time.
Yeah,
It does have very strong marketing play on the pivot versus with a jar of rosin versus a cart, and just the breakdown on how much nicer the experience is, with a simple tool, cleaning it, fresh dab each time, not exposing the entire thing to heat. It's not a throwaway unit. It's yeah, it's pretty good education tool. When first, first of all, like the thing about Puffco is it's beyond the cannabis community. Like a lot of these units are just purchased by people that are just like, I'll give it a shot. It's not all just like hardcore cannabis people that are walking around with their Puffcos. That being said, there's a lot of us, but these guys have done so much business around the world. They've turned so many people onto dabbing with these tools that it's just pretty incredible. I mean, it's so good for all the genetic companies. It's so good for this is such an important factor of, that farming, the breeding, creating the cultivars and getting them to express, washing and processing further till it turns into, and then is it accessible? Is it easy to kind of deal with? And I show you that the
can't hear you, Marcus.
A little freezy, right? Yeah.
Yeah, I'm getting
Satellite's
that.
coming around.
Thought it was me. It's not.
No, I thought it was me too at first, and then I started.
And
So I realized ATN was thinking the same thing.
Yeah, it's what
it's kind of,
you're helicoptering on us there, Bubble Man. Your internet is unstable. We cannot hear you, Bubble Man. We cannot hear you.
But we do feel you.
Oh,
We
totally feel you.
We totally feel you. I wonder if he's going to share the screen thing of the Puffco, or wasn't Marcus? Didn't you do a thing where you comparison? There was a product comparison between disposables and refillable pens. Can't remember that if it was Puffco or
All the talk of the jar check made me think of TSA, probably everyone going to this event. It's like, let's see everyone's jars on the way through.
Yes, yeah, we have a list. Hey, you. Let's see.
Dude, I was at
there were people.
Be funny if you did an event where everyone, like the judges, dressed up as TSA.
I went to an event
Sorry
yesterday.
about that.
I went to an event in San Diego yesterday. It was the first open consumption kind of cannabis event award show thing called the Farmers Cup. And I have to tell you, man, the sheriff and the DCC presence was so intense. I mean, they were everywhere. They had, it was just weird, because like just you mentioned TSA, how we can all now walk through and just show our jars and everything. But it was a weird vibe yesterday, I have to say. It was like, because it's a regulatory thing, right? It wasn't about cannabis at all. And it was so open. I mean, at one point I was sitting there standing next to this sheriff, and he's talking to these people that's actually the cookies team, and they're sitting there puffing and they're just like blowing it in his face, dude. You could just see, and he's loving it. He's talking about like how his friends get too stoned at his barbecues and stuff. And I'm just like, we're in such a weird space where it's permissible and everything. And it's not about the cannabis, but then you look around and there were cops everywhere, but it was about trapping. It's all about trapping. They weren't there about the weed. They're about the money. DCC was there everywhere. They had narcs. They had DCC guys going up trying to buy weed and stuff like that offline. And they had underneath their collar, you could see their green lanyard from their DCC badge that they had, but they're plain clothes. And then by the end of the day, you could totally spot the guy out. A friend of mine's like, yeah, that's the guy. And he's over there and he's literally walking around and he's bringing cops and DCC guys like, yeah, come this way, like that, and then pointing them that way, and then just doing the rounds because he's going from booth to booth trying to buy clones, trying to buy weed, trying to buy, and I'm just like, oh man, what does it always come down to? It always comes down to one thing: follow the money. It's always follow the money, the money, the money, right? And after they've abandoned their whole hypocrisy around the plan, they lost that. They know they lost that. They can't talk shit at all. TSA can't, the cops can't, DCC can't. But man, they are still freaked out about who gets the money on this, and you could feel that. It was it was palpable, Ugh.
They don't want to give up that money.
No. So how was the event? Was it otherwise like a good vibe? Like,
I think so. Yeah, totally. It was, I mean, honestly, it was a better event that I'd been to. I mean, it's interesting because, the Emerald Cup vibe was definitely a big shift. And you could see, like, if anyone on the call was at the Emerald Cup, it was definitely the end of that era, right? Like that celebration, and that Cannabis Cup vibe of we're all here as brands and people, but we're also here as enthusiasts and just here to get high and have a good time, listen to music. MJ BizCon doesn't hold that space at all, right? And a lot of these other places don't. And Trapper events kind of do now in Cali, but they're a little bit weird because they're Trapper events. So it's like, it's not, it's the culture, but it's not really the real industry. And it's like, we all want to be working together to actually not just, so it did feel good. And there was good food. And there was, a lot of booths and people were doing good. Some of the booths were selling out. So yeah, no, it had a good vibe. And it was the first one for San Diego, which is big because San Diego is a conservative county. It was very different. You could feel the different NorCal, SoCal shift, but it was good. It was all in all, it was good to see. They They had a bunch of hip hop performers. I think Burner closed the night. But it was yeah, it was good. But it wasn't super different, you know. It was somewhat more of the same. But it was the only thing that was odd about it, and this is crazy, speaking about follow the money. So it's an event. I don't know how many people, you know, a few thousand, whatever. There was no parking. It was hard to get in, a big line of people. 10 or so food trucks and stuff, you know, a good amount of people. But all sales have to go through the DCC, right? So all sales went through one retail license. So one retail license controls all the money that goes through for every single booth. So if you're selling flour, rosin, seeds, clones, whatever, you make the sale, you give the guy the receipt, the guy goes and gets in line and goes and pays for it and comes back and gives you the receipt stamp that shows he paid for it, and you give him the merchandise. So that's pretty crazy to think that, you know, like that's this whole California direct to consumer consumption thing that got passed last year, where it was direct to consumer, but really it was direct to consumer through a distribution license and a retail license at a venue, you know. So this is an example of where one dispensary in San Diego got to put on a big ass event, have a bunch of brands sell, and I'm sure they did well. Yeah, it was a good day, because if the booth next to us sold out, that means that a piece of everything that they sold out, a considerable piece went to that retail, you know, because basically everyone was selling wholesale. So all the booths are selling wholesale, and everyone's going, damn, I wish I could sell direct to the consumer right here at my booth. But so it's a weird model.
Yeah, there's similar things in New York going on where there's a farmer's market model where you just have to be on, you know, utilize a distribution slash retail um, you know, together, and then you can set up and then invite brands to do kind of tables and then sell direct to consumer there, and they take
But
a percentage of it.
but can you sell directly at your table?
Yeah, there's one master, you know, like they basically give you a ticket. It's like, this is the product, go scan it, go to the cashier, and then they go fulfill it at the cashier,
Right,
right?
right,
And it's similar, it's like cauliflowers, right? Like
right.
when I saw that, I was like, oh, okay, I see what's going on here. Um, you know, it's very much like that. And then the distro retail takes a percentage of that at
Right.
the point of sale.
A big percentage, like that the majority from what I
I
understand
don't
it.
think
Some of
it's
them,
that way in New York, but I think it's pretty fair in New York. But or I think it's negotiable. I think everyone's different, but
I,
I
I,
don't sure there's someone out there that knows more than I do on the percentage cut here out here. So don't
yeah,
quote me.
yeah, exactly. And I'm sure you're right. It's totally different, but well, it's just a wholesale retail kind of relationship. But the weird thing is that in Cali, because of the way you have to use retail to get to these consumption events and direct to consumer events, if you're a cultivation license only, you can't bring your product back. So it's a one-way ride. So like if you are a flower brand, for instance, which is why one of the biggest issues here in Cali is distribution. Distribution quickly kind of not just took control, but steered the ship. And then when we got to the point that they passed this bill or whatever it was last year, um, the problem is if you don't have a distribution license, you can't sell something. If you have a cultivation license, you can only sell something. You can't buy something, right? Period. You can't buy flower. Your cultivation license, you can't sell flower. You can only, I mean, you can't sell flower direct to consumer. So these events, you have to have that relationship with the distributor. That's like, bro, if you don't sell everything, it's got to go somewhere afterwards, but it can't go back to the cultivator ever. So it really benefits people who have a distro license and retail. And unfortunately, in Cali, a lot of people didn't apply for distro licenses and didn't apply for micro licenses when they could, like a 5,000 to 10,000 square foot cultivation facility could have had just a micro attached to that for very little in the beginning.
Yeah, man.
And then now they're stuck. So when as all these consumption events are going on, the distribution and retail component of it really controls the show. So you really have to you have to have your set. So basically it's like, hey, whatever doesn't sell, we have to set up a sale for that ahead of time so that you make sure, like, look, it's going to go back on your van, but I need it to go to this dispensary across town afterwards, or to another distro or something like that. So it just still, it's not as easy as like a farmer's market model where you can bring all your wares, you can sell them direct, and you can take it back to your farm if you don't sell all your produce. It's just weird.
Yeah, yeah. When it comes from that point of view, it's weird. And I think it's in California, how hard is it to just add a distro license? Is that something you can do or not? Because in New York, I have a distro license, and we did that on purpose because exactly what you said, our learnings of like, yo, if you have to rely on everybody, and you've got relationships, it's really hard to pass that on, from a simplistic point of view. And it just, as you just perfectly put it, it puts you in a disadvantage. So
One event locally that's been happening called Canny Fest.
yeah.
Happens here in Humboldt County in Eureka. That's one worth checking out. Um,
Cool.
even it's outside, it's on the waterfront, it's getting a lot of good traction, and it's easy to fly in and out of Arcata from almost anywhere in California for pennies. You could do it as a day trip, a weekend. It's easy, and I call the music adult music. It's really nuts venue. It's like they get the same booking agent as Jazz Fest or something. It's really good music. So we're really stoked on that moving ahead. And one thing, you're talking about like distro is fractured supply chain that we have here in California has been so challenging. And what's worked for us is we partnered with Soulful right when they opened up. I knew we needed a retail partner, and man, it took us, meaning us and Soulful, it took us probably 3 to 4 years, maybe even five, of working with like 10 different distro companies to make it work for us because we wanted to use it, use distro as like FedEx or UPS. Just go from my farm to the store. Like, we don't need your extra branding. We don't need your trimming. We don't need nothing. So finally, Soulful was able to buy a defunct distro license. So now I don't want to say we're vertically integrated, but we've got a really good, like, organic, regenerative supply chain, I call it, right? Where we're getting paid a fair price for our flour, and we can get small batches of pre-rolls, like constantly going to the shop. And Soulful has three shops now: Golden Gate Park, San Francisco, Golden Gate Park, Sebastopol, and Healdsburg, and we're working on Petaluma. So it's a model that's working. The one thing that they don't do is bring on branded flower into the shop. So you're not snowblind. You don't have five different jars with three different cultivars of the same product. It's like you have this curated flower wall hitting on all the different terpene profiles with a flower card that talks about our farm, the genetics, where we got them from, how we've worked them, and the experience that you might have. And the consumers can actually come into the shop and actually grab a basket and shop. It's very boutique like. It's not buying bullets where you're looking through a display case or looking at a video screen. There's not a single video screen in the shop. It's all photos and touch and feel and sense and actually smell jars. It's an amazing setup, and that's the differentiator that's really helped us and our little farm. And Soulful also knew that they couldn't support 100 farms out of the gate, so they had to really grab the hands of like four or five and just buy everything that they could from us. And now, just this year, I was able to bring two or three other good friends' farms into that model, and now they can start bringing in farms and start really supporting that model to pay the farms well and buy what you got. And it's a saving grace, right? Like, and other local retailers in this Northern California area try to imitate their model, but they're not doing it with full sincerity, and they just kind of want to, like, buy their own big square footage and integrate it into their own store. And having all of us go to the shop and share our stories like once or twice a month, we show up with our boots on after letting the chickens out. Like, you can't do that with a brand ambassador. And that's, all these little things are helping us stay in the game and keep it going for us.
Yeah,
That's
I think
awesome.
Even markets like out east, man, I think smaller, knowing your consumers, understanding like, your own garden to a really, deep level, meaning like your planning schedules and doing things like you're doing, Craig, where you're trying to find unique things. You're not looking to just a clone house that just gives you like a tray of whatever Instagram's, most loved image is. And I think that's really what I think is the future of where we're at. And I always struggled to understand why farms would just all grow the same stuff. It's just crazy. It's just it makes zero sense. Like it's like a band that's just like constantly playing each other's music. Well, it's the weirdest it's like the weirdest thing to me. You know what I mean? It's like
Yeah, but to that
I just
point,
wrote an album. I'm gonna play your song now when I go on tour.
That's what they did they did that in the 50s and 60s. I remember when they'd have a hit song, every band would cover that song because people weren't
It's crazy.
songwriters back in the day. That's why the Beatles were so unique. They were a new band that came around like, wow, these guys write their own songs and play their own songs. It was like,
Yeah.
whoa, what a novelty. No, I know it's laziness and like Craig, your relationship with your distribution partner and their relationship with you, really, it's like that's the whole thing. And what happened with in Cali with the distribution guys, they were almost predatory for a while and they didn't feel like they needed to have those important relationships with people who were their bread and butter, really, because everyone was just like, oh yeah, I'll take it or I'll leave it. It was like the back in the day when it was just like supply and demand and like I'm the kingmaker. But also to the reason I just wanted to answer your a question earlier, Colin, is it was easy to check the box on distribution early on. Obviously, in the licensing process, it wasn't a huge added expense.
Yeah.
It's harder, obviously, later. Now it takes a long time. But the main thing why a lot of people didn't do it is they didn't think they needed to because, I mean, we had all these emergency actions while we were voting on 64. The governor was telling people, growers, I'm going to pass this emergency. I think it was I can't remember what it was called, but it was to allow distribution to continue direct from farmer to retail, right? So, and then you had certain trade groups that were trying to set up agreements with groups like the Teamsters in order to control distribution. So you had industry saying like, wow, there's a huge opportunity here. And then you had policymakers giving everybody the assurance like, oh, don't worry, we're going to let the small family farm thing, the cap, and then the cap happened. All these things happened, but people essentially, it's not that they didn't check the box when they could have. It's just they didn't. It's like I'm a farmer, I'm a breeder. Why would I want to buy a fleet of refrigerated trucks? And you know what I mean? So they didn't think that that would ever be necessary, but because we were kind of duped, to be honest.
Yeah,
And
it's
then when
interesting because like I didn't even know in New York, it didn't even present itself until I was like midway through the app and I was like, wait, I can just check this box and now I have distro. That's insane. I like there was no one even told us that that could even happen.
yeah, well,
And I went back and asked my team, I was like, is this real? Can I like this is like it's such a crazy add-on.
yeah,
Why wouldn't we do this? You know what I mean? And there's so many after the fact talking to so many people, just like you said, it was the same reasoning. Well, why would I need I no, I didn't do it because I didn't need it. But in the rules and regs, you can't go direct to your partners, which are retail, without it. So it's really, it's a real interesting thing. And now, like you just said, it's like it's impossible to get now because the process is over. Um, or to get in the queue for that is a maybe, you
yeah,
know what I mean?
it's a
So
long way.
yeah, so and a lot of money that just isn't worth it in a lot of respect. So but yeah, that's fascinating because it's almost like, I always say this, that every market's like a preview of a film we've seen before. There's always some scenes in there you're like, oh yeah, I've seen that scene before, you know. So
you
it's
know, a reference you guys made to bands and music, I also play a different card. We grow our own genetics or we work really closely with nurseries to get something out of their vault. But we're also growing like Hayes Valley Blue Dream because when you know a song and you know it's going to be played by a band you really love, you're excited to hear that music coming through that lens or coming through that that expression.
Yeah.
So when we're growing an amazing cut like the Santa Cruz Blue Dream at Alpenglow, we sell out. Folks are really excited. Number one, it's going to be a small batch, and it gets great press because David Downs loves Blue Dream, and sometimes it's easier to join the parade than to start your own. And we don't have to do any marketing. People are familiar with, like, I'll use Blue Dream again, or Sour D. People have their own idea on what it's going to be like. So they're like, oh, I want to try it. And I definitely want to try it because I know it and I know that farm and I've tried other things from that farm and I think it's going to be a hit. And it it's really worked really well for us. So we're playing these three different cards. We have our own genetics. We're working with like other legacy cultivators or closely with the nursery to get something new from them that's vetted that they haven't released yet, or we're, you know, jumping in the parade and banging on our instrument as hard as we can to get awareness to what we got going on, and it's working for our little farm.
I think that's really well rounded though, like that's kind of the perfect scenario, like where you're playing to the classics, you're digging into things that resonate well with your actual environment and you're growing them really well. And yeah, Blue Dream's a grower's plant, right? Thing's insane when you look at the structure. If anyone's, I think all of us have grown it, it's undeniably a great plant. Same with sour. Grown well in the right conditions, all those things are incredible. But you also have your own voice, you know what I mean? I think that's what I was getting at before, is like searching through, the new is often a chore for some. And I think that's sometimes the most rewarding things come from that. So I think you
Our
got the
one and
best kind
only,
of scenario. You know what I
totally.
mean?
Our one and only light dep this year and has been for 5 years is Jack Herrera.
Yeah,
And
that's an
it's
incredible
a
plan too.
Jack that's so spot on. Dan, Jack's son, he's like, I want this for my brand. I'm like, I don't grow enough of it. Sorry. It's all going to Soulful. But keeping with some of these tried and true varieties that people love to come back to. People like to know what they expect, especially in a economically challenged market. They don't have the finances to explore new, which is nice if you can have more of these events where we can share the new. And that's just challenging in California.
Yeah, I think we also need more breeders like Fletcher, not to blow smoke at you, dog, but like you take the time to run stuff and you're a grower's breeder, right? So you know what you're working with intimately, and there's purpose and intention behind that there's only a few handful of people that are doing that kind of work. So we think to get those keepers to be able to hunt through things to make that time well spent, it starts with that kind of, understanding before you even get there, like what did that breeder do to provide this 100 lot of seeds to me or whatever lot you might be getting. I know it's been tough for me over the years where I buy into, I've bought hundreds of seeds, thousands of seeds from people where, I was just really unhappy with what I was searching through. And
Thanks, Colin.
it happens, like and then I'll buy a freaking 6-pack of fence. I got like, I don't even know what I got. You're like expedition line. And I found like 3 things. I was like, all of these are great, are great. And then I ran your other archive line. I was like, it's hard to even choose. You know what I mean? And I think that's where you need to be when you're, because there's a lot more sapphire than diamonds, right? And I think that's the truth of it. And we look, we've seen a lot, so it's a big world to explore. And it's daunting sometimes, like to pick a selection for the season, man. It's like, it's heartstrings are being pulled there. Like scheduling is tough, It's a lot of awesome stuff to grow. I mean, I look at my seed collection, I'm like, I don't even know what to do with it sometimes. You know what I mean? Because I'm like, where does this stuff go?
I
You
think
know?
an interesting thing that Craig touched on is, one thing I'm seeing like in Michigan where I have a partnership that's in a pretty big operation. What we're seeing is like some of the biggest retailers in all these states, just like Craig is saying, they're asking for varieties like Blue Dream and stuff that already has marketing, so you don't have to re-educate the consumer. And what we're finding also is that not only do they want that stuff, which is kind of expected, but the majority of them spent a lot of money building a big grow that they thought they were going to supply their little retail empire with, right? And most of them, well, all of the ones that I've talked to and know about, they all failed at running their 2,000 lights, 3,000 lights. They did, they put a 30 million, $40 million investment in the hands of 50, $100,000 a year employees, and you're expecting it to somehow correct itself and make millions of dollars, and it simply didn't work. And now what a lot of those retailers are doing from a, like, so what the retailers did is they basically beat up the farmers, which happens in all commercial agriculture. You get overproduction, and now the retailers have pick of the litter, and they can pretty much name the price, and everybody will bow down. And they've been so successful at that they've put a lot of people out of business. And so now they're trying to figure out, well, what do we do with our 2,000 lights? And what a lot of these retailers are doing is they're saying, how can we white label our own product? And that's essentially where a large portion of this retail market is going to go. I can just see it. The writing's on the wall. It's like Kirkland brand inside Costco. They're going to pick the most highest selling, or Amazon Basics. It's no different. They're going to pick their highest margin or highest volume products, and they're going to figure out a way to manufacture them in-house. And so what we've found is a lot of them are asking people like us who do know how to run a large facility, will you come run our facility for us? And the terms are pretty attractive. I mean, when you look at a $30 million building, you get no rent, you get no anything, and all you got to do is come in, bring your crew, and run it, and you take half the spoils, and they'll sell all the product. It becomes a pretty attractive offer, as long as you're capable of managing that facility. And so I think what we're going to see is a lot of small farms that have been maybe hanging on, small, medium, and large farms, just farms that have subjected themselves to the commercial economics of overproduction in cannabis. They're going to find that these retailers are going to say, produce Blue Dream for me for $800 a pound, or I'm going to pay someone to do it, to white label it and put it in my own bag. And that's what that's what they're pushing for a lot of their retail to become. Whether the consumer likes it or not, the retailers are going, we're going to take a whole subsection of our sales and we're going to get someone to manufacture it in-house for us. And that's going to be, it's going to become more and more difficult to introduce new strains into the marketplace. And I think a big part of that is us not having a marketing platform. And this kind of goes into the conversation you guys were having earlier about high times events and cups. And it's just become so diluted. All this cups, it's a participation award for everybody at this point. Oh, then we got 19 different awards for everything. And if you just give us $3,000 for a booth, we'll give you something. And we saw that as the High Times thing became commercialized and they ran that thing into the ground. It just became, the awards had no value. I mean, I didn't even keep any of the cannabis cups that I kept because they make a better ashtray than they do a fucking reward.
Totally, dude. That's 100%. But like, I think it is fragmented. I had a friend tell me, he's like, how do you guys make any impact when it's so fragmented? You literally asked me that question the other day. I was like, it's a really good question.
Vertical integration.
It's
the only way you can reach your customer directly and get them excited about your product and not have some middleman fuck it up, whether it's a distro, a retailer is trying to push you down on price, and then you have to adjust your manufacturing standards, whatever it is. It's not working well, let's put it that way, in the current system.
Yeah, I mean, we already have people asking us if we white label for them in retail in New York, and it's technically not even, rules and regs prevent that, And I think that's part of the problem is like they don't want to stay in their lane, They want to drive all over the lane, the highway, so to speak.
Well, they control where the customer is spending the money, and it was a real estate game at the end of the day for retail. And so until we get laws that either allow farms to go directly to consumer, or more companies vertically integrate, which is complex for multitude of reasons.
Yeah.
We're just going to, I think, continue to see a dilution of the marketplace.
Yep. And then especially, you know, we have outside stuff happening with hemp and stuff that's uncontrollable that, you know, also could contribute, you know, a lot of people would say the state systems are over, you know, due to that.
Yeah. Well, and I think I may be beating a dead horse here, but I think that it's very clear if you study, you know, agricultural history and the industrialization of agriculture, that
Yeah.
the biggest problem is overproduction, no matter what it is. And if we didn't, the simply greed ruins pretty much every agricultural commodity, unless it's like something that's super time and labor intensive, to like saffron or something like that. And so basically what we're finding is that as all these markets mature, there's not a whole lot of opportunity to deploy your brand and deploy your market and deploy your products.
Yeah, I think that's well said, man. And you know, it's only getting more complex. You know,
I'm about to deploy these dabs.
Yeah, let's
with
deploy
Josh, who just came in, the Puffco brother. Let's deploy some dabs.
Let's
I
hit it
think
up.
that's
Hit it up.
that's interesting you brought that up, Fletch, because yeah, we've been offered similar things in other markets. Yeah.
Well,
And
I
you
think
guys
that
see
what we're
this?
going to find. Oh, go ahead.
Sorry. No, you go ahead. Sorry.
I think one thing we're going to find, though, is that in commercial agriculture, there was one thing that saved the big farmer, or two things. Either farm subsidies from the government or farmers unions, right? And those are the only two things that can basically keep the price of an agricultural commodity raised. And I think what we'll find in cannabis is that there is no government savior to come in and save your weed business. And these like essentially these really, really big farms who are mostly backdooring most of their product, or at least couldn't pay their bills without backdooring product. Once you have legalization everywhere, there will be no export market for them, relatively speaking, at least one that's profitable, because there will be some localized production that's as cheap or cheaper. I think many of us have seen like Oklahoma and places like that, you know, broken the trip up and taken a lot of business from, like, let's say California. And I think that trend's going to continue. And I think that the competitiveness and dominance of California in the distribution, and maybe, you know, it'll probably maintain its marketing strength, but I think that the distribution of product from California is going to continue to decrease. And as that happens, companies like Glasshouse Farms and all these booth farmers that frankly don't have any business being in business and probably don't really have a viable business model on a local level, they're simply not going to exist. And so I think that, you know, if there's any silver lining to this, I think that if there's any small home farmers or growers or people that are staying out of it, I think there is going to be a pretty significant opportunity in the future for them to get back in business once all the extra fluff finally disappears.
I completely agree with that, and I'm seeing it already. Like, our flower, almost since the beginning, has been, you know, pretty much pre-sold before we even plant, just because we have good relationships and we're a small farm. But also we're starting to get calls from everyone. Like, what do you have? What do we, you know, like, there's not good quality flower available right now.
Exactly. And I a big part of that is them pushing everybody that wants to do quality out of business, the retailers, right, with their pricing structure. But they actually end up killing themselves in this process, because the consumer doesn't smoke 4 times as much weed when you reduce the price 4 times, right? So they increase their volume somewhat, but their margin gets collapsed. So then the retailer's whole goal is to, like, how can we either get more consumers or increase our margin? Most of them, like I said earlier, they're going after margin. How can we get this stuff manufactured in-house? But what they're doing is, well, if they find the right cultivation partner to manufacture their white label products in-house, then that works for them, and that's a good solution. But for the majority of stores that are following the same trend, they are going to find that there's no growers to buy from anymore. And the price is going to shoot back up. And there's a lack of cheap, like everybody's like, why would I buy your good weed for $1,500 or $2,000 or whatever the price is when I could get a $600 pound of something that's really good? Well, 2 or 3 months from now, that $600 pound won't exist because that company was only selling products at a loss and now isn't in business anymore. So that's what a lot of them are finding, is that they did that to enough farms that basically they're like, we don't have a supply anymore. We're going to have to, like, we already tried growing ourselves. We can't do it. So how can we get this product for this cheap? Because we've collapsed the value to the consumer to essentially what is an unsustainable level without taking losses to get it to them at that price.
Right. Then you have to enter into unethical practices, in which is what agriculture did traditionally by exporting it and exploiting the people. You know, that's like coffee. That's what happened with coffee, right? It's like good coffee, and then all of a sudden, what do? How do we get more coffee for cheaper? Yeah, no, it's an issue, but I think that one of the big problems that cannabis will have compared to other commodities is that the sheer volume of it needed to be produced. And we've talked about this before, Fletch, that there's never gonna be that many jobs. Like corn, rice, wheat, soy, there's a lot of jobs associated because of the scale, the sheer amount of footprint it takes on Mother Earth, right? But when the actual numbers of how much square footage that cannabis requires, if it gets scaled, anything like ag, will require so few jobs that it'll just be a commodity that's controlled by so few. And the on the retail side, you know, nobody will even know on the back end, just like corn, soy, wheat, and rice, nobody will know on the back end that it's controlled by just a few conglomerates that make all these millions of different products made from corn, wheat, soy, and rice, right? So my fear is that, like, if we don't continue to control it through quality, unique genetics, small farmer craft, all that stuff, then it will be the easiest switch for them, because they've already proven that people will just take the boof and the vape pens and the crap and the shitty pre-rolls. And then they could just level this whole industry and say, like, you know, we can just control it and then turn you guys really into this tiny, tiny segment. And that's happened with other foods and other fruits and vegetables, where, like, the people who are really into it, like tomatoes or whatever, the people who really grow the things that people want, become 0.0001% of the market, and everything else is just these 3 tomatoes that are at the market. So that's always my fear, is that we got to realize that it's not like the money, the number is up there with other commodities, but the actual acreage is so small that we're really like a horticultural industry more than we are an agricultural industry, which to me is scary, because it's so easy to take over.
Yeah,
it's
it's so easy to tip the balance between supply and demand. Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think
California retail has a whole other bottleneck, that at retail they're only allowed consumers only allowed to walk out the front door with an ounce. You don't know how many times we're tabling and people are excited to get our newest release, and they have like a dinner party or friends coming to the city to visit for the weekend, and they want to buy, 3-4 ounces to share. Like, someone's going to have a party, they're going to go get a bunch of different wine bottles, a bunch of different terpenes, a full expression. They don't want to run out, but they're stopped at the front door with an ounce. It's terrible. You think about how many eighths a farm can produce, even a small farm like mine of 10,000 square feet. Like, how do you get it all through the front door at that small capacity? It's crazy.
Yeah, you can buy a 55-gallon drum of Jack Daniels, though, if you want. That's no problem.
It's funny here in Barcelona because you have to give your passport at the door, or an ID, take the super long time to become a member. Super great, though. The clubs are the best. Meanwhile, there's 4,000 bars on the road. Every 10 feet, there's a really amazing bar where everyone's just stumbling drunk all over the city. So it's just super interesting that, cannabis continues to have this, like, not part of just normalcy. Somehow it's just not, or it's just meant to be on the side for whatever reason. And in some ways, I feel like it's like, oh, it makes sense why they do that. In other ways, I have no clue why it's continuously stigmatized when we've all proven for years now it's amazing for the earth, it's incredible for the human biome, it cures all this stuff. Yet we're sitting there giving our passport at the door to get in, hiding in the back, hoping the cops don't show up. Yeah, it's just
Dude,
very.
when I left that club the other day, he had a stack of like 100 licenses in his hand, and he couldn't find mine, and he couldn't find the other guys. And the guy, I think he was from like Austria or something. He's like, "Oh yeah, let's give our governmental issued ID to the two stoners at the entrance to the club that are getting
And they're like,
high."
it makes you safe, and you're like,
Dude, he
okay,
had them like all
totally.
he had them all over. Like he was like he had 10 over here and 5 over here. He had big stacks of them. I was like, oh my, I didn't give my license. I brought my or sorry, my passport. I brought my Canadian license. So that's what I actually gave him. I could never give my passport. That's just like that. Everything in my being says not
Most
a good idea.
most places don't do that, but the odd club, like we went to the Hash Times Cup last night, and they were just like super into it. Could be people that entered the cup didn't have their passport on. They're like, yeah, we're not letting you in, passport only. Okay, okay, interesting. But anyway, it's been, super great experience. And as far as like, cannabis getting mainstreamed on the super high end, crazy ag, I think just the more it does that, the more it is going to continue to pave the way for, that craft or that better quality item. Like beer, a lot of people don't think about beer, but like there's so much every beer has glyphosate in it, huge amounts, and it's fermented if it's not organic. And I mean, I don't know a lot of people that strictly drink organic beer. So I think that it's a matter of education. 4 years ago when we first came here, not a lot of people talking about organics, and we helped the organic cup. And a lot of people were like, how would you even know if they were doing organic? Or I don't think there's enough people here to like do a cup. And then now after being here this year, I would say the majority of really good quality stuff that comes your way, and Marcus, you could say what you think about that, but I would say the majority of good quality stuff that comes your way, those people are growing organic nowadays and in a super heady way. And almost all of the winners of the cups are, doing some form of either living soil where they do no-till, or some kind of super soil where they might move their soil onto the earth somewhere, and then redo it. But it is really cool and amazing to see the quality rising so far out up here and stuff. We judged, like 4 different cups this time. So we saw a bunch of different stuff and met a lot of different farmers and met a lot of different club owners and saw all their stuff that was coming in and everything. And very impressed this time. It was, super sweet to see.
Yep, it's all top quality. There's a ton of passionate growers and hash makers here that have exceptional quality flower and hash and like 6-star dry sit. I've literally seen probably a dozen different static sifted, really, really nice ones that melt away to almost nothing and just great representations of ours. Someone pulls something out and says it's a particular name. It's actually that expression and like a high caliber at that. So definitely, I've been pretty happy coming to Barcelona since probably around 2014. So maybe 10, 11 years it's been, you don't have to bring anything here. Like that's how good everything is from the perspective of someone like myself who wants to make sure I have nice material to consume while I'm here. And not only that, everything, someone opens a jar and says, hey, I want to share this with you, it'll be fire.
Yeah.
It's like super likely. See, a chance sharing a jar with us right now. Although no one can see that channel, I'll have to put it on gallery here. There you go. Now
Really
you can
stoked
share
about Neighbors and
jars.
the Brazilian crew, and the Salva Club did amazing this weekend. Took a bunch of awards, and then all the hash is so fun to look at. And then there's a lot of hash makers that are trying to figure out what category to go in with the dry sift. Should the dry sift go into traditional hash? Should the dry sift go into melt? Should the dry sift be its own category? What about rosin? And then there is a lot of people can't grow like we do in the US or in other places where it's just full, like just how beautiful of a garden do you want to make? So I think that brings a huge attention to detail. And there's like this, like they don't have room in their garden for things that are not super thought out and super intentional. So I think that there is a lot of Skittles and a huge love for Skittles out here. But there is, also a huge love for fruity varieties and in some cases the haze varietals from the traditional side of things. And it's been really amazing and seeing the different kinds of cured melt, whether it's cured melt, whether it's whipped, whether it's piatella or dry sift whipped. Amazing expressions. Big love to
you're seeing a lot of whipped resins. They're taking bubble hash and dry sift and they're whipping it into a rosin like consistency that is trippy, and you can still tell it's not by the way you scoop it up and whatnot, but I definitely see it opening a door for people just calling their rosin bubble hash and dry sift. I always like the idea. One guy did a really good job. He left his jar, half of it was pure heads and the other half was like the heads whipped gently into just this frothy, very much like a rosin. I've got like 2 or 3 of them here that are dry sifts that are whipped up, and one bubble hash, that one from Argentina, the raindrops, which I got here. Oh, oh,
Marcus, you're freezing up. Well, I'm gonna end. You just saw this wonderful lady a few weeks ago on a hash shirt. So say hi. Can you hear me?
hello.
Oh, there we are. How's everybody
Hello.
today?
Hi.
We're doing good. How are you doing?
I'm doing good. This has been such an adventure being out here in Spain for Spannabis, running into Etienne and seeing all you folks here. Like, what are the chances? It's lovely to see you all again.
Dude, it's awesome. Welcome, Caitlin.
Cool. It feels like I'm running into all of you now in this extension.
Yes, I saw Caitlin and Dawn yesterday. I think it was yesterday at La Colada.
Friday,
Or maybe
I
it was
think.
the day before.
Yeah, Friday.
There you go.
The day before.
Now we're getting it. Very good. So you liking that club over there?
This has been a really cool place. The art here is wild. Can you see this picture behind us? It is beautiful.
Is that La Gracia? La Creme Gracia?
Yes.
Yes, it is. Yeah.
I like that place. And did you meet Edu?
We just got here. I'm not exactly sure who all these folks are yet, but
Ask for
meeting
Edu,
a couple of
who's an
them.
amazing hash maker there.
I will ask. I will ask. So
Super
this is
good.
cool. I sat down like over there in the corner and I heard Etienne talking and recognized his voice and I had to come say hello. Like, what are the chances? That's pretty cool.
Really? It's awesome. Hash Church in Barcelona.
Yeah, that's another box I never thought I'd check off my list. Hash Church in Barcelona. Right?
It's checked.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I don't want to take up too much of your guys' time. I'm not sure where you're at for console. I don't want to cut her out. So maybe I'll pass it back there to Etienne. But great to see you all, everyone. Have a great
Good
day.
to see you too.
Hey,
Thanks.
Oh,
Absolutely.
I saw you today when I was leaving the event. I've known Edu for about 11 or 12 years, and I think it was about 10 or 11 years ago. I made hash with him at the HQ headquarters, hemp headquarters, David's place there. That was the picture shows up every once in a while. Jibs was out here from Trichome Heavy Extracts. and Edu was there, Jibs was there, I was there, and I can't remember who the fourth person was, but yeah, just a bunch of hash makers. HQ, the club was very new at that time, which now it's obviously celebrated its 10th or 11th anniversary recently, but oh, how time flies. I will say, oh, how time flies.
It really does. Did you talk about Spannabis not being here next year already?
A little bit. I tapped into it in the sense of being like, oh, could be a bummer, could be a gift. Really could go either way. I'll always miss Barcelona. Keep in mind, you don't only have to come to Barcelona during Spannabis, although it is a wonderful time for our community. It's certainly a lovely enough city that you could come here anytime with your friends or family and enjoy yourself.
I'm bummed. I've never been. I was like, just last week, I'm getting the real fear of missing out thing. I was like, oh no, it's the last year. I've never been. And then Amsterdam, the thing for David, I was on the fence just the other day. I was like, maybe I'm gonna buy a ticket, maybe I'm not, but yeah, I probably won't make it. But
Maybe I'll
I
see you there,
yeah,
maybe I won't.
yeah, I know. And obviously yeah, if Rob was gonna be there, I would definitely make it because it's just too much, but it's the timing's not good. But I really Spannabis crept up. Every year Spannabis creeps up. It's been one of those like ongoing, decade long, like this next year, and there's always a reason, but there wasn't a real strong reason for me to go other than to be with you guys and hang out. So I figured next time that happens is what I'll try to do, whether there's a whole event going on. So, you know.
We
Yeah,
had a really
exactly.
fun night last night and with Ryan Lee and Dennis, who made the homegrown tent, who created the homegrown tent. So basically, like, created the first tent and the grow tent for houses, and out of Germany. And we had this, just a really sweet night, and we got to smoke some of Skunk Man's, last hash out of his carta and stuff. I know Marcus has taken some smokes out of it and stuff. And Kelly and I are both got to have some smokes out of it. And it was super powerful and really amazing. I mean, just having, his machine in your hand and taking hits off it and everything was very special last night. So definitely thankful for that. It's been really nice hanging out with everyone and having little bits of kind of intimacy or time, away from everything and just cruising through the city, and it is really magical here. And we've really enjoyed our time with people here. So that was magical, taking some hits out.
I got to spend a couple of days with Josh and Kelly over at their apartment. I spent 2 nights with them and we had a pretty good time. It took me about, I want to say like maybe 2 hours before I lost the set of keys to their apartment.
I still think it's gonna be like okay. I haven't heard anything yet, so no news is good news. But it's like this old world 1800s key. I mean, who knows what? Just kidding.
Oh
But
my God.
we've had a great time.
Oh man, I just still don't know how. It's because I'm on a motorcycle and I'm packing everything in pockets. And I think what I did was I put the key in my front chest pocket. I didn't zipper it up. But then, like riding to the Ego Clash on the highway, going 110 or 20, I think it like blew it out of my pocket, but I just didn't perceive it because I had the full face helmet on. So my
Yeah. Well, it's been great
bad,
to meet
but
some
I felt
humble
terrible. And then,
farmers out here. Sorry.
yeah, no, go ahead. I saw those guys today.
Yeah.
Some bull farmers.
Mendo, Mikey, and Higher Ground, Johnny, and Happy Dreams, and a lot of those crew out here, bringing genetics and talking about, the farmers and everything, hanging out with Johnny and Rose. So it's been really nice kind of seeing some of the family out here and getting to meet everyone who's out here as well.
Yeah, it's pretty bloody good. Not gonna lie. I'm really looking forward to going to Amsterdam though and see Diana. And I'm gonna fly with Ryan Lee tomorrow from Barcelona, so that'll be a fun little adventure for us to go on together and tell some Dave stories on our way to Amsterdam. Go see I'm gonna go see Jared. Maybe do some tours. I might tour Canna facility, and I might greenhouse with Yair. We'll see how it goes. I only asked him a minute, but those are kind of the things I'm looking to do. Of course, I'll rent a bike and pedal through Vondel Park, something I always like to do, pull over into a corner and suck back a couple of dad and just I know Mojave's definitely spent time in Vondel Park, but you just see the craziest shit that you could ever see. If you spent enough time in that park, you saw some crazy shit.
Yeah. In little pockets
awesome.
too.
I'm
You
kind of
you find like these little pockets of
pockets.
weirdness going on, like over in the little area where like little, hey, I think there's a little cult thing going on over there. And those guys are definitely tripping on acid. And these guys are just, but why are all these kids everywhere? You know, it's like there's
Yeah,
such a
it's so
beautiful
wild.
beautiful
It
mixture of
really
culture.
is, man. Oh my goodness. And I'm gonna go see. I'm gonna go to my. I'm praying that my favorite pizzeria, which is right next to the Queen's Palace in Dam Square, on the side that's sort of, if you're standing in Dam Square looking at the palace, it's on the left side, the way you would go towards the Albertheim.
Yeah, yeah. I think I know that
There's
place.
a little pizzeria right there. Oh man, it's fucking good, man. Italian, real Italian folks, and they've had it. It was there for at least 25 years. I'm hoping to there. It's been about 5 years since I've been back. So
Been a while. I missed the place. I haven't been since
Italian.
2018.
Yeah.
Hey,
Wow.
I gotta go, but I want to show you guys this plant that I first showed you many months ago. I don't know if you remember it. I showed you that weird mosaic bleached mutant that I cloned. Well, I have it. I have moms of all of green ones and purple, white ones and mosaic one, different ones. But this is the actual plant, and it's like really old, and it's been flowering, and it's March here and cold and all that stuff. But let me see if I can get my phone on because it is so fucking trippy. I think you guys will enjoy it just for a second. Okay. Did that work? Oh yeah, cool. Check it out.
Oh wow. Damn.
Isn't that a trip?
Look at that, eh? Just a little one.
Those trichome tacos.
Look at that. Look
I
at
would
the
love to photograph that with my macro lens, dude. That will
and
be just beautiful.
it's really far out. And this is, I mean, literally it's been rainy and cold. But look, you can see here's the all green. Well, I can't do this with my, I'm sorry, my camera's all
I
jacked
see
up,
it. We see it.
but so there's all the all green and purple. And then this side is the sport where I mean, this is the section where the sport came off. And some of them are very white like that. And then some of them are more mixed green. And the cool thing is like, depending on what plant, what portion you take the next round of clones from, that's the level of variegation and mosaic you get. So it's super weird. But the cool thing, Marcus, is there's an aroma difference, a clear aroma difference between
Really?
Yeah, because it's chlorophyll. There's so much chlorophyll in this green stuff, and this is a Cambodian variety from Mel Frank. And there's so much chlorophyll in it, and it's kind of grassy smelling old school landrace wheat, right? It's got that peppery, grassy kind of spiciness to it. But then you go over to the bleached ones and you can smell the muted chlorophyll. And it's got a little bit more of a berry-like smell to it. Like the fruit comes out just a little bit more. So anyway, I don't know how it would work in terms of like flowering. I'm trialing it indoors at a couple of places just to see how it outgrows or doesn't outgrow the mosaic or variegation. Because like each plant has the potential to go back to green or back to white or mixed. And I've been kind of trying to learn about this, and apparently that's how they do it with a lot of houseplants and stuff that have that same mosaic thing, is like if you've ever bought like, philodendron or something like that have that mosaic structure to it, it might not be a heritable trait that they're just like, oh, we plant these seeds and get it every time. It could be a clonal trait where it's like you select a mother plant that has the majority of the right variegation or mosaic that you want. Anyway, that being said, I get super excited about this shit just because it's like something new and different. We're all just the whole cookie cutter cut and paste world everyone's in now. I'm like, dude, can't we just do fun, exciting, weird shit? Let's do weird shit.
Listen, I'm telling you that plant right there, especially that clone, you could definitely you could monetize that by growing it both outside the way you are now, but also growing it indoors and making it picture perfect, and then inviting macro photographers to come in to shoot it, like surface area and beer goggles and all of these high-end macro photography. Because I can tell you from looking at that, it'll be something nobody else has been photographing. It'll look completely fucking different, so different with those color variations and backgrounds that will be what we call in the business a money shot.
Yeah. Hey, you know what? I could tell you stories about that term, by the way. I'm from California, from the Valley. I had very close friends in the money shop business way back in the 70s. But anyway, that's another story. The messed up part is that there was all white plants that sported out too. And I tried to clone them, but there's the absence of chlorophyll, they just wouldn't root. But they were flowering, right? So, and if I T-seeded or something like that, like in culture, you could have got that to root. But the crazy thing is on the first mutation, you had every degree from green to green and white to green and purple to purple, white, and green to all white and all white and purple. So you had flower that was just completely white with no green on it. And the smell and the taste was totally different, right? And here's the crazy thing that adds the element of, to me, that makes it exciting is that before this mutated and did this thing, because it happened on a clone, I already loved this flower. It's really nice to smoke. Right. It's like a really nice, comfortable, soaring, but not racy effect. And it came from Jim Goodwin. So it's like, it's such a cool plant. I'm like, this is like you said, it's like a house plant. It's like, this is something you just want to hang around with. So anyway,
awesome. Cool.
I'll follow up with you guys in subsequent, calls, and I'll show as I get like actual flower that is finished and stuff like that. It'll be fun.
I'll look forward to that. That's awesome.
For sure. Anyway, guys.
Cambodian Mel Frank.
I know.
Thanks, Mo. Yeah. Appreciate you.
All right, guys. Be well.
I am thinking I'm going to cut it a little short today because it's getting late. I haven't eaten. I got some responsibilities before flying home tomorrow, but I want to thank everyone for coming out. It was awesome to have you, Craig, and share with us as always. Really appreciate what you're doing over there. And I do see a day one day where I will have my brand in California and I will come to you and pre-buy some of your flower to do a SKU or two. Colin, appreciate you as well, brother. Thanks for coming out, always holding it down, as well as Etienne down at the new spot, La Clem Grazie.
Yeah,
thanks
I want to give a
archive and best friend Brian. Oh, give a shout out, please.
Yeah, I want to give out to Stefan here from La Creme Gracias. It's absolutely wonderful. Thank you for your hospitality here in Barcelona. And the Cannabis Embassy crew, thank you for everybody and their hospitality. And I'll give more of an update. We want to do in the future a hash church with the Cannabis Embassy folks. So look forward to doing that. Thank you everybody for your love and support. I did do that speech at the UN that I did last week, and I did it with the plants. So that was very successful. Thank you very much.
All right. That was
thanks, Marcus.
Sean and Dan just came in. As I'm saying goodbye, Dan's coming in to puff bowls. He's got the rosin and I've got the lungs. So thanks everyone for coming in. Josh, we'll see you maybe later tonight. And thanks everyone for watching. big shout out to you guys. And oh, I would be remiss if I didn't say a shout out to Bubble Bags and Puffco. For those of you who might be interested in B2B bubble bag sales from Nepal direct to your country, give me a shout at bcbubbleman@icloud.com. And shout out to Puffco, puffco.com. And shout out to Chelsea and Jolly Roger over there. And yeah, just thanks for everyone watching Hash Church once again. I think we got about 300 or 400 people watching live right. Bingo Lombardi holding it down as always. And we'll see you next week. I'll be back in Canada and I'll let you guys know how Dave's celebration of life went. Thanks, everybody. Appreciate you all. We'll see you next time.
Lots of love.